What is going on, everybody? It is episode 381 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. We have a full house today directly in front of me. Would you introduce yourself, sir?
Hey, everybody. I'm Aiden Mattis. I am the host of a little show called The Lore Lodge right here on YouTube.com, and I'm hanging out for the week.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
Doing good?
Yeah.
All right. And to my right, introduce yourself, sir.
I am Wesley Roth. I am the director of Cast Castle, and I'm happy to be back.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Doing good?
Yeah.
Excellent. And to my left,
Sup, everybody? You know who I am. Phil Labonte, lead singer of All That Remains.
anti-communist.
Well, yeah, we're not on Timcast, but I'm an
And
anti-communist.
revolutionary.
Counter-revolutionary.
Yeah, counter-revolutionary.
Yeah.
I'm fine with one, like a catch-all term for the intro. It doesn't need to be different on this show.
Okay, all right. Phil Labonte, lead singer of All That Remains, anti-communist, and counter-revolutionary.
We talk about plenty of commies because they're all in Hollywood.
You know, there is a whole lot of commie going on, and it needs to be rectified.
We're working on it. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen. First things first, Elliot Page has a book coming out and had something happened at an event. I was going to say conveniently something happened at an event, but I don't want to make that claim because I can't know for sure, but it is a little bit suspicious. But basically, Elliot Page was the victim of a transphobic threat from someone and claims that Los Angeles is no longer safe for him. And I have in the chat, I said, is Los Angeles unsafe for Elliot Page? And people are responding in kind. So far, it's sitting at 70% of people say no. LA is not unsafe for Elliot Page. I don't know if that's a fair. I don't think LA is safe for anyone.
Yeah.
But we'll get into it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about one of the greatest bits of possible satire that I have seen in a very long time. The Swifties are unionizing again. I never thought I would do not one but two topics on Taylor Swift without Mary here. But
Look, generally I'm against unions, but I am very pro Taylor Swift, so I'm a little bit torn here.
Well, the question is, would the unions benefit her, or would they only benefit the Swifties?
The only thing unions ever benefit is unions.
So
That's why I'm against them.
We will get into that. And we are also going to talk about Arnie. We talked about him yesterday when he apologized 20 years later for groping women. I called him the Gropinator. Today, he's going through his edgy boy atheist phase. He just found the Amazing Atheist on YouTube, and he's going all in on that heaven isn't real.
Wait till he finds the melted candle video.
I'm excited. I'm excited for him to go through his. He's going to go through a whole awakening, and in 10
Poor
years
TJ.
he's going to come back. We're
TJ.
going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about AI pregnancy. We're going to talk about UFOs because last night
Did you just skim right over AI pregnancy like it's some normal ass shit?
I mentioned it yesterday, but we didn't get to it, so I threw it out today at the beginning as if it's a
I
totally
just like the way you
normal
just
thing.
like kind of right over it, just like jumps right up there, grinds right across it, down on the other side, out the door.
Like, so, you do this show long enough and things get to be so ridiculous that,
AI pregnancy.
It's 2023. I mean, at this point, AI pregnancy is not the most surprising thing that can be said.
It's really not. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into UFOs because they ended up coming up on IRL last night. But I said that this would be fantastic. And then lo and behold, Aiden sent me a message this morning and goes, dude, we need to talk about this. And I have a feeling he'll stay on topic better than I managed to last night because somehow we talked about aliens for about 3 seconds and then it somehow became about central banking and the Fed.
The aliens are running the
That all
banks.
tracks for me,
Yeah,
personally.
Yeah.
So the aliens are running the banks,
That's
clearly.
kind of what it is. It is what it is. So if you guys are ready, we'll get right into it. Phil, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Aiden.
I'm ready to go.
Wesley.
Unclear.
Okay,
No, I'm ready.
I always say I always say that to
Unclear?
Wesley, and he says
Unclear, yeah.
he never knows. First things first, though. In the age of activism, there is one activist group that proves that you can still be hated even in this time period by everyone, not just half of the world, and that is PETA. Nobody seems to like PETA, especially
Because everybody likes eating food.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but especially Pete Davidson, who left them a very mean voicemail. Did you listen to it earlier?
I didn't get a chance to listen to the voicemail. I read some of it.
It's really great. So let's see if we can play this here. Basically, he bought a dog. And Peter's like, why didn't you adopt? Or like, why did you buy a new dog? Why didn't you buy a rescue? And he's like, look, I got allergies, bro. Give me a break. So here's what he says.
Get fucked.
Yeah, basically.
Hi,
think it's
my
literally
name
what
is
he says.
Pete Davidson. This message is for Daphne. Thank you so much for making comments publicly that I didn't adopt a dog. I just want to let you know I'm severely allergic to dogs, so I have to get a specific breed. I'm only not allergic to Cavapoos.
I don't know what that is.
Type of dogs. And my mom's dog, who was 2 years old, died a week prior, and we're all so sad, so I had to get a specific dog. So why don't you do your research before you fucking create news stories for people, because you're a boring, tired fuck you, and suck my dick.
Yeah!
This message.
I'm not even a fan of Pete Davidson,
no,
but I'm a
me either.
fan of that voicemail.
I have never been a huge fan of Pete Davidson, but right now in this moment, I am such a huge fan of Pete Davidson.
It's like, I don't like you all the time, but I do like you some of the time. It's what it is.
Anybody that
Telling
dumps on
PETA to
PETA.
screw off. Yeah.
Nobody likes PETA. Like, it's like...
It's one of those things like Bill Maher, where like when he says something you disagree with, you're like, shut up. But when he's on your side, you're like, hell yeah.
Exactly. Like,
You're the man.
Yeah.
I mean, look at
you did bang Kim Kardashian, didn't you? Hell yeah.
Are you? Who's gonna take the side of pizza or PETA over steak? Like
Yeah.
if you choose PETA, you are absolutely saying I am not on the side of like steak.
Jacob
And
Edler says
I just don't think so.
PETA Davidson.
I'm engaged to a vegan who hates PETA.
Anything's possible.
Also, I love that they call this unhinged, because to be honest, I felt like that was actually pretty mild aside from the
hinged.
F-bombs.
Perfectly
That was quite
reasonable. Perfectly
Well,
reasonable.
the last part.
Ah.
Anyone knows that PETA can
I mean, I'm not
absolutely do
offended.
that to you.
I mean, it wouldn't be vegan of them to do the last part, would it?
Well, he's not an animal.
What was the percentage of animals you said that they
Oh
put
yeah,
down?
I
There was
had
a
it pulled
large
up.
percentage.
I had it pulled up because I remembered there was a time when Cassandra McDonald was on IRL and she was going on off about PETA. Since 1998, PETA has been directly responsible for the deaths of 41,539 animals. They euthanize between 52 and 72% of animals that come in a given year.
It's kind of like those stories you hear about, like a person cited for caring for animals without a license, and then they
kill the animals.
They end up killing the animals. It's awful.
Yep.
And their
We don't
defense
think we
for
can
it,
keep them alive.
their
Therefore, we
defense
will
for
kill
that
them.
is so dumb. It's literally, oh, well, we have an open door policy. We accept all animals that are brought into us. That's why we, euthanize so many. Because a lot are just brought in a condition that they can't live. And then there's the part where they had to pay $49,000 in 2017 to a family because they euthanized her pet chihuahua.
I hate them
Like
so much.
And they will kidnap dogs from people's front yards and be like, oh, well, it was on a lead in the front yard, so clearly the owners weren't safe. And they will kidnap these dogs, bring them in, and force the family who owns the pet to wait and fill out forms, and then they'll just euthanize the animal. And it's like,
I would shoot people over that.
oh yeah.
PETA.
That is John Wick territory.
If somebody killed my dog, if somebody kidnapped and killed my dog, I would actually
Let's be
commit
careful
crimes.
with our language here. Just, I'm just
I would commit
trying to play it safe here.
arson in Minecraft.
Let's okay in the game.
In the game, I would
okay,
construct a PETA headquarters and burn it down in effigy.
perfectly
I
fine.
think you meant you would record them, right? You would shoot them
with a
for
phone.
a confession.
With a phone, you would shoot them.
The world's watching, that kind of thing.
Property crimes are real.
There you go. So like nobody likes PETA. It is what it is. In the age where we're long past the days where we were worried about fur, like fur coats and stuff like that, are just not as common of a thing to worry about these days. So it is what it is, guys. Thank you for that. Also, guys, before we get started, would you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already? Thank you very much for that. Remember that if you have any super chats, $20 and over, we will interrupt the discussion right then and there. We will read them. We will answer your questions. We will read your statements. And then I will do my very best to let my foggy brain get right back on topic. I do fairly well at these days, but I don't always get it every time. But you're willing to try. So we're going to do that, guys. But let's move on. Let's talk about Bam Margera, because this is very, very sad.
This one hits so close to home.
Yes, it does. So we talked about it last week, where he basically had a self-deletion almost note, where he talked about where if he doesn't get a chance to see his child Phoenix, he was going to smoke crack until he dies, which is you can only take that as such a clear message, right?
Yeah.
But to me, it played like somebody who's extremely sad, extremely stuck in a place where you're stuck between addiction, missing your family, and all of these things. You feel very powerless and out of control, and you lash out because you're not ready to deal with all the things that you have to take care of. And there certainly are a lot of things that he's going to have to work out if he wants to become, a viable father again in the future. But it's very sad to see. But he's been placed on a 5150 psychiatric hold after a public breakdown where he was basically outside of Danny Trejo's taco stand and spouting, just talking incoherently. So it says the Jackass star, who's been in a very public downward spiral with fights for custody over his son Phoenix, was put in the involuntary 3-day hold after police found him at Trejo's Tacos, a restaurant owned by Danny Trejo, on Sunday. The outlet reported that Margera was acting erratically and slurring his speech when he was located by cops in conjunction with his public, can we say Minecraft self-deletion? Are we allowed to say that word? I don't know what the policy is.
I've said it while covering actual events on YouTube, and yeah, you can say kill and suicide.
His behavior was deemed concerning enough to the authorities that they called a psychiatric evaluation team, who ultimately decided to place him on a 5150 hold. I do have questions. I would like to know more about what's going on with his brother, because one of the things he pointed out in that original video, like his brother basically has like Castle Bam, which was like his house, is now like in his brother's name. So there's definitely some shenanigans, and I don't know if I trust the family of a rich person either. I just know that he's outwardly showing signs of somebody who cannot be trusted with their own behavior right now.
So our bass player Matt was in CKY for a long time, and if I understand correctly, Bam needs all the help he can get.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything further than that, but you know,
the way that his friends too, and his former coach, like Steve-O, the way that they talk about it, to me, this does not feel like it's a Britney Spears situation. This feels like a situation where he's legitimately like he needs help.
Keep in mind the guys like Bam and the guys in CKY, like Jess and those guys. They were put together with the Jackass, the other guys, like with Steve-O and with, I think, Ryan Dunn and with
Knoxville.
So they weren't like organically together. They were literally from different sides of the country. They were put together for Jackass. So I'm not sure exactly how close.
That's surprising that works out too, because usually people can tell when stuff like that feels manufactured.
I mean, when all you got to do is hit each other in the nuts, you know.
Fair enough. How authentic do you have to be when you're constantly in pain?
Just get hit in the nuts and don't hit someone. Don't take it seriously. Like, you know, you're there to be in pain.
How do you watch Jackass growing up?
I did, yeah. To speak what you just said, like that does seem like a bonding experience.
Yeah.
So
they were one of the first. Jackass was one of the first. Or no, I'm sorry. Viva La Bam was one of the first television shows to ever put All That Remains music into their show.
Wow. Did you ever end up in ridiculousness?
No, I don't think
you would have
so.
gotten insane royalties off that. That show's just on constantly.
It does not go off.
It's omnipresent. It's literally always there.
Yeah. I want to add in one other angle to this too, because Bam's from Westchester, Pennsylvania, which is I grew up playing against Westchester high schools.
Let's hold off. We got a $20 super chat right here from Derp State Surveillance. He says, "Hi everybody. Where did Mary go? Where did Mary go? Where's my only cigarette? Please think for me. I can't bear to. I'll just lie here for a while, wet myself, wet my bed." From the STP album, Not My Sentiments. STP.
Stone Temple Pilots.
I love. There's some good Stone Temple Pilots songs. There's a lot of them. Big Easy, yeah. Like there's a couple of them. Big Empty, right?
They had some good stuff.
But Mary is
Chester Bennington fill in for them for a while after their singer died?
Maybe. I'm not sure. He might have.
But Mary, if the Mary question was actually authentic, Mary is on vacation right now. Mary will be back next week, in the middle of next week. So we wish her well.
Could just start telling people I am Mary.
Yeah,
we'll it's 2023, you bigots. Like
we'll get you a wig. We'll get you a wig. We'll do that.
Wig.
It'd be fantastic. So yeah, okay. So what you're saying? He's from Westchester?
Yeah, he's from Westchester, Pennsylvania. He's from very close to where I grew up, and for me growing up watching Jackass and being kind of in the skateboarding and pop punk communities, like Bam was a hero to my crew. Like not the people I hung out with normally, but at the skate park, that kind of group. This guy was a chill local dude who was doing cool stuff on TV, and to watch somebody you idolized as a kid go down this very public path of self-destruction, knowing that you want so badly to be able to help, but there's almost nobody who can help that guy.
Yeah, the position that he's in right now, he has to make the decision that he doesn't want to do that stuff anymore.
Yeah,
and
the only person who can save him.
Exactly. Like Brett, I quit drinking, and so I can talk from personal experience and the fact that like there was never a time where someone was going to be like, Phil, you need to quit drinking, and I'd be like, you're right, cool, and just do it. Like it has to be something that you come to for yourself.
For me with pills, it was different. Like it was actually the same kind of in a way. Like I knew I had a problem. I knew it. It was just a matter of like, when do you actually stop every aspect of your life and go take care of it, right? Like you've got a job. you've got commitments, you've got all these things. When do you decide to just take however much time, whether it's 30 days in an inpatient facility and then outpatient facility? Like it's a lot of work. And like when you, in that case for me, there's money concerns. Like, can you even afford to go to treatment? Can you then afford to not work for that long? Like somebody like Bam, I don't know what his financial situation is, but my guess is that he can afford to take the time. But if you're not ready to do so, it's not something you can just make someone want to do, because you can force people into recovery all you want. It doesn't stick if they're not ready to go do it. And unfortunately,
I can speak a little bit from experience here, but when you're trying to get off the kinds of medications that he's been on, it can do absolutely horrible things to your psyche, and the level of paranoia you start to feel as you're coming, a week, 2 weeks off of being on, like, I assume he was probably like me, where he was probably on an Ativan regimen or a Xanax regimen for, a pill or 2 pills every day. Coming off of that puts you into a position where you are so paranoid about everything that you genuinely believe that the people who love you are trying to cause you problems or trying to tear you down. And there's no way to stop it, because you can either get back on the drug that's killing you or force yourself through that.
Yep. And benzos and alcohol are the ones that can actually kill you from withdrawal.
Yep. That's why I ended up quitting.
And for me, like when I see, there's a $20 one from Disco Gents. He says, why is the poll asking, is Elliot Page safe? He's a man and can protect himself. Well, we'll get into that. We'll get into that. We'll talk about it.
I wouldn't feel safe over there.
Nobody should. The other thing for it is, like, when you're in that position, if it's crack, if it's cocaine, if it's meth and stuff like that, it's going to be a very long psychological process, which is like it's a different type of withdrawal. But it's much more psychological. It has a larger psychological hold on you than like a lot of the other stuff. So the hope is that he gets the help he needs, but it kind of is a miracle when people manage to get out of situations like that. So I wish him the best. I hope he finds his way through it, and hope he ultimately finds his way back to a connection with his son. Because that's the real tragedy of all of this, is that beyond the tragedy of what's happening to him is that a son is growing up without a father in the home, or at least access to a father, because he's just going through something that's so common but so heartbreakingly difficult to get through. So we will see, but hopefully the psych hold helps, but those things are very, very hit and miss.
I want to jump in real quick, and this is a little bit off topic, but I just saw my buddy Chris Franzak tweet. Never thought I'd be saying this, but the new Toyota Prius is fucking sick. So if there's anyone that knows Chris Franzak, would you please do a wellness check?
There you go. It's it's a sign of erratic behavior.
Yeah, it might be he might be he might have been kidnapped or something. That might be his way of letting you know. So if anyone knows Chris Franzak, Franzilla, do a wellness check to make sure that he's not been kidnapped or something.
All right, guys, and then I got another quick update here. So Marvel Studios, which is working on Captain America New World Order, except for it's not called New World Order anymore. It is now called Captain America Brave New World. So maybe they're channeling Aldous Huxley for this one.
Yeah. That does make a little bit of sense, though. New World Order is only going to set stuff off, like set the excitable people on the internet off.
No, but what if then, like, you get into it and the villains are all lizard people?
Oh, God. Yeah, I know, right?
Like, they end up...
Skrulls.
Yeah, well, they did Skrulls in Captain Marvel, right?
I mean, they're coming back.
So yeah, but I really don't know why they couldn't just make a Falcon movie. I still am annoyed by that. There was no reason to make Sam Captain America in the series. He's a really, really enjoyable character as the Falcon. There was no reason to make him.
But doesn't the Captain America mantle get passed in the comics?
Yes, but just because it doesn't mean you should do it here. Like, that's not necessarily a good, in my opinion, the best argument.
So my understanding was that Chris Evans was kind of done with the character, but they wanted to continue it.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. It doesn't need to be passed on. Just hold off on those movies until you find the next actor, and maybe let the character breathe for a while and sit for a while without having to do something with it. It also is annoying because then it's just another sign that nothing ever ends in these worlds. And
it's also annoying because it like diminishes the value of the character he was. Like, it's saying like, well, that moniker, that mantle wasn't good enough. Yeah. It's like, why not? Why wasn't it a good moniker? What are you implying?
with comics.
What's the implication here?
Yeah.
Disney?
For
What are you saying?
With comics, though, that's one of the things that I think has been the charm for a lot of people is the way that characters do continue and people die, and then you just get a new series where the character is back to life.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the problem that we're seeing, especially with the Marvel stuff and the DC stuff, is transitioning that form of storytelling to the big screen is so difficult because everybody wants their coherent storyline and their canon. I mean, look at Star Wars. Like, that's probably the best example of this is the fact that they just cut out all of the EU content.
Yeah.
And then now they're having to go back. With comics, which run are you choosing is the question that you eventually come to. And they're kind of mixing runs and changing characters and doing
things. Well, they do
things
that a lot.
and-
Like, it's all mixed together.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. We'll see how that works out. But Brave New World could be an
Yeah.
interesting story. We'll have to wait and see how that comes out. I just don't know if it's going to garner the same level of entertainment, of viewership that they expect because Chris Evans as that character, like, he's one of the perfect examples of, like, separating art from artist because he's unbelievably annoying. He is.
Chris Evans?
Chris Evans.
Oh, yeah.
He's
I
unbelievably
pay no
annoying.
attention to Chris Evans as an individual.
Nor should you. But the point is, he's unbelievably annoying. But I can watch any, like, especially Winter Soldier or Civil War. But, like, I just recently watched Not Another Teen Movie, which he is in, and he's fantastic in that movie as just like a douche jock.
Well, he's in Scott Pilgrim, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was
great
good in
in
that.
that.
But he's a great example of, like, separating art from artist. Like, you have to just learn to do that. From what I know, Anthony Mackie's actually kind of an interesting case where he's had his own criticisms of Hollywood in a lot of ways in old interviews. But I don't keep up with him super closely, but I remember seeing a couple of old interviews of him being critical of certain aspects of Hollywood.
From what I can tell, he generally seems to avoid making political comments and
Oh no, there was that one time when he was talking to I forget who he was talking to, but he was talking about like physically defending a woman and if a woman should get up and make him a sandwich, and he was like, "Yo, if I'm on the street with you and some guy, grabs you or something, you expect me to slap him, right?"
Yeah.
And the woman that he was talking to, he's like, "Well, yes." And he's like, "Then if Daddy wants a sandwich, get up and make Daddy a sandwich." and to be honest with you, I mean,
Dude, they
if
could've
you're
just-
if you're going to ask for gender rules, as in males must defend me because you're a man, then there is also the reciprocity that comes with go get me a sandwich.
I'm telling you, they could have made the movie Captain America Get in the Kitchen. That's what they could have done. And it was like they just use, like, the shield as a platter for food. Like, I'm
that's
down.
bad.
I'm not saying that one way is a better way. I think that those kind of gender roles really it can apply to the people involved and stuff. Some people are okay with it, some people aren't. But it is a completely and totally reasonable perspective to be like, if I'm expected to get punched in the nose for you, then
Yeah. Like, also, it's like, have you ever noticed there's a weird it's not making you food, it's making a sandwich, because that's been turned into a thing. Like, you could ask someone, could you go make me something to eat? And that's not the same thing as saying, go make me a sandwich, because that has clear sexist connotations to parts of our culture in the past.
I used to work in a cafe back home, and one day one of my best friends walks in with this just huge, ish-eating grin on his face, looks me in the eye as I'm working the register, and he goes,
make me a sandwich.
"I want you to make me a turkey sandwich, Aiden." And I'm like, you had to do this to me at work?
Yeah, of course. That's specifically why.
Jackass.
All right, we're gonna move on, guys. Let's talk aliens, shall we? Shall we talk
boy,
aliens?
I do love
Are you
talking
excited?
aliens. I'm excited.
Go for
about
it.
This. So I mean, what we're dealing with now is I believe it's the FBI has now come out and said we have evidence that there are non-human extraterrestrial vehicles flying around in the air, and a whole bunch of people are like, "Oh my God, they're admitting the aliens are real." And of course, we just had wild stuff about the FBI drop. But I wanted to talk about the alien stuff because who was it? Tom DeLonge on Joe Rogan a few years ago sat there and told Joe that the Pentagon brought him in like 2002 to talk about aliens, and that they were like, aliens are real. We need to eventually let the population know, and we want you to help us do it through your music. And anybody who listened to Blink-182 back in the early 2000s, they've got songs about aliens. And then Simple Plan has My Alien, and you start to see this alien iconography pop up in the pop punk genre. Like, I just think, I think the idea that we sit here and we laugh now, but for like 20 years now, the military has been just hinting at aliens being real.
Predictive programming. Right?
And I wonder whether it's predictive programming or whether they're using it to cover things up.
If there were any substance to any of this stuff, I really think, or if there is, how about that? We'll say it as if I have not made my mind up, because the point that I'm alluding to is that I would accept evidence, but I need to see evidence. I need to see something that is actually going to make me think, okay, that's real. That it doesn't look like something human, or you have to show me why it wasn't made on Earth. Like, just, hey man, I saw these little green men in a hangar, and the government man said to me, hey, but I don't buy it. Like, I've heard so many stories. Like, I need some kind of tangible evidence, and if you give me the evidence.
So are you saying that you don't believe that it is off-world craft, or you don't believe there's anything?
Okay, so I'm a little, when it comes to whether or not there is life in other parts of the universe, I think that it's likely that it is. I think that it's also it's out of our reach. Okay. It's out of our reach in a way that other galaxies are out of our reach. Like, you're not, as of right now, all the science says you can't move faster than light, and if that's the case,
no, but you could take an Einstein-Rosen bridge, something that bends space-time.
Well, there are theoretical ways of doing it, like the warp speed with Star Trek, shrinking the space in front of you, expanding the space behind you, makes you go faster than, those kind of things. Those, I suppose, if they're possible, they're possible. Obviously, I don't know. But as of right now, with what we know, I don't think that there are aliens that have been to the Earth. I don't think that we have been visited by any kind of sentient life forms or anything like that. So,
see, I would agree with you that I don't think that there are aliens in the traditional sense at all. And I certainly
like where this is going.
Yeah, but I certainly would agree as well that, like, everything that we're saying here is not the truth.
Yeah, I mean,
it's sort of like, let's say that at a certain point, there, like, in any situation, whether it's a business or a family, when certain information you don't want to get out is getting out, you like spin that to control a narrative so that it's still,
that's what we were saying last night. Like, that's basically like there's like stuff about the Biden family, and they're like, look, aliens, it's over here.
No, about this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that you control this narrative.
They call it a limited hangout. So during Watergate, when they were talking about what they were going to go to the admit to, they said, Nixon was like, oh, so we're just going to let it all hang out, and their reply was, no, sir, we're looking at something more of a limited hangout. You give out a certain amount of. That's where let it all hang out came from.
But you also let out untrue things, so that it becomes
you put out little bits of truth and also things that are not true in your bits of truth, so that way you are actually throwing the people off of your trail. And also, well, look, we've admitted to the things that we've done, so that way they stop looking for more things, or is the intended.
And then the genius move on that is start denying the things that you put out there, because the things that are not true. You're like, I didn't do this, and everybody wants to go down that, and they stay away from the rabbit hole that you did do.
Yeah.
Are you guys familiar with the Fermi paradox and Drake's equation?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We work at Timcast, so.
That's the one. I assumed. I felt I should ask just in case. But that's the one that really that has me interested, and I like the theory. Okay, so the Fermi paradox is based on Drake's equation. Drake's equation is a series of variables that lead you to basically the answer, there has to be alien life somewhere in the universe. If there's this many planets and this many worlds, it's statistically improbable that we're alone. The Fermi paradox is from Enrico Fermi, who was sitting talking to a couple of other scientists about this, and he goes, well, where the F is everybody then? And that's the question answer. And I like the possibility that other civilizations out there have existed and then burnt themselves out, or, I mean, look at us, we're on the brink of nuclear war 6 times a year, so maybe they did that. I also have my take on aliens is more that what we're dealing with isn't necessarily extraterrestrial but extra dimensional, and that we're looking at stuff that is
Stargate.
To an extent, it's
quite
sort of similar.
Sliders?
But the idea that what we're dealing with, the reason that we can't find space aliens is because we're looking for them in a linear field, a three-dimensional space. And what we might need to do is look at maybe they're in a fourth dimension. And
There's
the fourth dimension is time.
yeah.
There's already so they wouldn't be.
So it'd be the
Or
fifth
fifth dimension.
dimension.
Yeah, but that's the idea. Is like maybe they're existing in a state of reality that, in the same way that a two-dimensional character couldn't imagine us, that we can't fathom that.
Favorite alien movie? Any movie or TV shows involving aliens, guys?
Aliens.
I think Signs.
Yeah,
The
Signs?
Vast of Night.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Amazon original. It's really good.
Really? Okay, recent?
Yeah.
Was
2019.
I don't know if it was you. It was either you or Kellen might have suggested
I told
that
you
one.
that. Yeah.
You might have.
It was
been
made
linked to him.
made by one of the camera people for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Okay.
Funded
Okay.
by Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook.
Aliens. Bug hunt. Let's go. Get them.
There you
Kill them
go.
all.
Original? They're like original?
Aliens.
Yeah. Not Alien.
Not Alien. Alien's great. Alien's awesome.
But Aliens.
I like Aliens because they went to go take care of the problem.
Perfect.
Oh my God, Sigourney Weaver was badass in that movie.
Was
Favorite movie?
Oh, Signs.
Signs?
M. Night, I mean, I'm from Philly. M. Night Shyamalan is a local hero, but also Mel Gibson did such a good job. Joaquin Phoenix is in it. Such a good alien movie, and without leaning into the War of the Worlds trope, where it's not a movie about the aliens are invading and they're going to destroy Los Angeles. Yeah. It's the aliens are invading and they're doing weird things to my farm.
Yeah. I talked about the X-Files last night, how there's like a lot of what we were talking about last night was talking about how you can shift world events by these things coming out. So there's an episode called Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man, where basically like every time something bad would happen, he basically controls the world because he's in charge of like the one world government in a way. And I think of aliens in that show, especially in the early seasons before they ruined the mythology in that, and it got overly convoluted. But in those early seasons, when it was all unknown and you were dealing with a lot of questions and a lot less of asking a ton of questions and getting mediocre answers, that you talk about a cultural like a time in history. The 90s, when the X-Files was popular, is a unique time in history. We talked recently about like when was the last time you saw something that actually brought people to a television like as a family to go watch something. Like the X-Files was averaging 10-20 million an episode, 10-20 million people viewing each episode, and that was a Sunday night show, so it was a special time. Also, my birthday is in the beginning of July, so I watch Independence Day. It's Will Smith had like 3 movies come out on my birthday, like 3 years in a row. It's like Independence Day, like Wild Wild West, and something else came out. Like
I watched Wild Wild West because I loved Will Smith.
Amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I loved it.
It's amazing that movie got made. It's incredible.
It is.
All right. Let's move on, guys. So before we get started, we've got wholesome of the day and we've got we've got cute of the day. We got cringe of the day. What would you like first? Cringe of the day. All right. Cringe of the day today is not a video, but it is an article, and it's unfortunately from Zack Snyder, who says this. I'm sorry. It's the panderiest of pandering. It says Zack Snyder claims non-binary character brings heart to upcoming Netflix series Rebel Moon. I like your face right there. That's the face that everyone should make when they read stuff like that. It's like, does he? I would ask the question: does he know what that term even means? Yes. Yeah. I found this. So it says director Zack Snyder recently revealed that a non-binary character played by an actor named E. Duffy brings the heart to his upcoming Netflix series Rebel Moon. Speaking with Vanity Fair, Snyder explained that the character comes from a small farming village that got destroyed, and their people never really stood up. They got slaughtered. I don't know if he understands that doesn't matter. Like in the grand scheme of things, the character could be interesting enough to bring heart to it. It doesn't matter like what their preferences are.
Yeah, I'm curious what that means. Like the non-binary character brings heart to it.
He also said something where he's like, "How you expect me to make a movie under 2 hours?" He's like, "It's like you lose all the characterization." Like, you mean like
that's one of the more offensive things somebody said about film.
No,
it's always in slow mo.
And I love. And here's the thing: I'm a Snyder. I'm a defender of the Snyder cut. I love the extended edition of Batman vs Superman. But let's face it, not every shot needs a 30-second shot ramped up to 120 frames a second of a dude opening a crate. Yep. We understand that. Like, you could cut that scene down. I love you, buddy, but it doesn't need to happen.
This is like
let's go watch Sucker Punch after this.
Yeah. I've said it on here before, and I'm going to say it again. This is quintessential W word wokeness, where you don't have substance, so therefore you must feign virtue.
Yeah.
Like to get like if you do not watch my movie, it's because you're a bad person.
Well, I was fairly interested in Rebel Moon. Like,
Yeah, I was too.
It seems like they put a lot of money in
Yeah.
in influence behind it over
Yeah.
at Netflix.
Yeah, and I was interested in like the whole idea that it was originally written to be a Star Wars movie.
Really?
Yeah, and then they were like, "Well, we don't want it," and he was like, "Okay." And so he was like, "I'll just make it," and it's like I think that's cool. Like I feel like we're talking about the movie that shall not be named, but that if it wasn't in the canon, then people would have liked
Oh
it.
yeah, you guys could fight about this. You guys want to fight? You guys should fight.
About what?
Let's talk about The Last Jedi. Who wants to talk about The Last Jedi?
This is not going to be fair because I'm absolutely teaming up against somebody.
It's garbage.
It's horrible.
fight.
Who's
he
fighting?
He loves
I
it.
like The Last Jedi. I hate The Rise of Skywalker. Like
It-
this, an abysmal trash heap.
Do you remember everybody in the theater? Did you watch it in theaters?
Yeah.
Do you remember everybody in the theater booing when she said Skywalker at the end, or did that not happen for you?
Oh no, it happened for me.
Oh yeah. I think that was a universal experience.
yeah.
Nobody wanted that shit.
That was the panderiest movie of pander movies where it's like
We try to make everyone happy, and in the
Yeah.
result, you make
Made
nobody
no one
happy.
happy.
What is it about The Last Jedi that you liked?
I will say this. I will say that it is a very good Rian Johnson movie. But I can understand why people who love Star Wars don't like it, even though I do as well. I found oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this again on this show.
I'm still waiting.
Yeah,
I've never heard this.
There are things I don't like about it. I'll say that. Like I'm not a fan of the Canto Bight stuff. I'm not a fan of the.
You can
like,
tell me
yeah.
what you liked about it, which is what I
Yeah, I know.
asked you about. With all,
I like the idea that just because you have overcome something once in your life doesn't mean you've overcome it forever. I also like the idea that sometimes you are your own worst enemy and that you have to get over that yourself before you can be helpful to other people. I also like the idea that, like, quoting Obi-Wan, there are alternatives to fighting, there are other ways to win, was used in a really effective way to where the hero didn't conquest over the villain in a way that shows violence and destruction, but chose a way that would inevitably lead this person back to the path of redemption, who is his own family. Like I found all of those things compelling. There are lots of filmmaking choices I don't like, but on the whole, the story in that movie, unlike the one previous and after, had a beginning, a middle, and an end. Every single character had something that they had to learn. Everybody went through failure and came out the other side stronger, whereas the other ones, it was just sort of like a really long trailer of this happens and this happens and this happens and suddenly it's over.
It's also
So the
not,
things you like the most about The Last Jedi are the plot points that were in Return of the
Well, I mean,
Episode 6 is what
to
you
be
like
fair-
about Episode 8.
to be fair, the other two prior are just Star Wars in a blender. And I
Yeah.
thought this one at least interestingly took a completely different route to how to get there. Like everything was a metaphor for what you were trying to get out of it. Like the idea that they're sitting there with their shields up trying to get from point A to point B was literally what was happening to the characters. Are just like, I'm supposed to get from point A to point B, but I have my walls up. And it's like, I found that interesting.
I do find Episode 5 interesting as well.
I'm just saying,
No, I agree
don't
with you.
have
I
to
agree with you
like,
fully.
I don't need you to enjoy it for me to enjoy it. You know what
I
mean?
agree with you fully that it would have been a good if you took it out of Star Wars and put it into like feudal Japan.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Yeah.
I just think that most people
That's-
had the reaction that I had,
but
which
that's
was
also
this
on-
is not Star Wars.
That's also on Kathleen Kennedy for not doing better oversight over her movies to actually make it a trilogy.
I would agree with
rather
that.
than-
And I would also
Yeah.
say that it's not the fault of like even Rian Johnson, because what do you do when you are given a movie where Luke Skywalker has chosen to exile himself and he's alone on a planet, and then you hand off the script and say, you figure it out?
Yeah, they probably should have maybe not done that part.
Well, yeah, no, there's no linear storytelling.
And like
there.
literally when Rian, it's like I asked him what was going on, he was like, I don't know.
And I will say, The Last Jedi is not worse than Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker is I commend Oscar Isaac. That man deserves an Oscar solely for being able to, with a straight face, say the line, somehow Palpatine returned. And not just like cringe physical. He deserves an Oscar just for delivering that line.
I would have loved to see the like the writers like the table reads for that.
There was a guy sitting next to me in the theater. I was in like Brick, New Jersey, and this guy was sitting next to me. And when Palpatine goes, "I created Snoke," he goes, boo.
I love that. You want to know the worst part though is that my biggest reason for hating the Last Jedi is the nerdiest thing on the planet, because that's not how hyperspace works. You are jumping into a separate dimension, not just going to light speed. Right. And Eckhart's Ladder on YouTube did a video where it was that hyperspace jump, but it's lore accurate. And the ship just explodes against the shields, and they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw that. But no, there's just so many things that I liked it because it asked a few more philosophical questions than a normal Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Look at Solo, which is...
I enjoyed Solo, personally.
For me,
I thought it was fun.
Han Solo.
All right. Thank you for defending your position.
I
as
appreciate the
always.
dialogue and the fact that you weren't afraid to say something so deeply unpopular. You were a
I
brave
know.
man.
I'm hated here because of this. But I guess I saw something in it, and I went into it really excited, and I was like, I don't know, I didn't hate this. I'm not going to change my mind because a group was like, no, you're supposed to hate this. I didn't.
I tell people all the time. I said there's few people more intolerant than people who pretend that you're allowed to like anything, and then a lot of people are like, you're definitely not allowed to like everything. There's certain things that people tell you that you're just not allowed to like it. I say all the time, I like Batman Forever. Love it. Don't care what you have to say about it. Love that movie. It's campy. It's ridiculous, but it's a lot of fun. So, all right, we've got cute of the day, and I snapped my very own for the start. If you guys want to see this one, there is Bocus, looking very adorable on a laptop. On a laptop case. He's actually kind of giving you. It's kind of giving Zoolander vibes a little bit, a little bit. Relax. Don't do it.
Emphasis on zoo.
Yes, exactly. So let's go. We've got a couple others. This is from Deadman. He says, Brett, important meeting of the cats. Council or for anti-tax strategies, which I highly support. And that's a good crew of anti-tax people there.
I back this.
They definitely they don't like the Fed, and they definitely are not fans of paying their taxes.
You think cats would be anarchists?
Yes,
Yes.
of course.
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
so.
Gabby
Absolutely.
Hayes just gave us a $20.
All right, Gabby Hayes says, "I just want to let him know that he's not alone. Out of all the sequels, The Last Jedi was my favorite. Thank you, Gabby, for standing in solidarity.
Cats would be monarchists.
Very regal of them.
I mean, only if they were the monarch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gabby, for standing with Wesley. He appreciates your support." All right, we got a couple others here. He says, this is from Keenan Smith. He says, this is one of the squirrels over at the college. They walk up to me now, waiting for me to give them walnuts or almonds.
Sounds
They
like it's your
prefer
fault.
Fig Newtons, though. Fig Newtons dipped in peanut butter. I mean, can I get some?
I feel like they might like the peanut butter.
This all makes sense to me.
Yeah.
It's adorable. I want one.
A squirrel?
Yes.
Do you really?
No.
I love how basically
I
everybody...
wanted to hang outside of my room, outside of the house.
Because they're just rats, right? They are just rats.
We had a $20 one from Call Me Snow Possum. Says, straight out of jail, got a lot of PCC to catch up on. Thank you, my friend. And free Snow Possum. I'll get that shirt made if you're not out on bail, are you? Let's go. That's awesome. Catch up on all the episodes.
I do have a question. You guys all call it the ones with the stripes and the dots. What's that called? The little tiny squirrels with the stripes and the dots?
Those are chipmunks.
Okay,
They're
good.
not squirrels, though.
I know, but I was trying to go for the close. Somebody from the Midwest told me they call them like gophers of some kind.
Yeah, gophers. Well, we have a sport.
Those are significant.
I was like, that is not a gopher.
I don't know if maybe they just didn't know what they were talking about.
No, they sent me a picture of a chipmunk and said, "What do you call this?"
the Minnesota, the University of Minnesota is the Golden Gophers.
Gotcha.
So maybe that's.
I've heard them called ground squirrels.
Yes, I've heard that one.
But yeah, it was like some sort of gopher. I was like, that's not right. That's not what that's called.
That is a chipmunk. I mean, look, there's Alvin and the Chipmunks that prove that chipmunks are a thing.
Yeah.
And there was never a time when you had chipmunks, Alvin looking like a gopher.
Also, what a movie. Do you guys remember the live action Alvin and the Chipmunks?
No.
I remember the Squeakquel.
Squeakquel.
Oh, man.
Weren't they on a boat?
I don't know.
They're in high school in one of them, and there's lady chipmunks.
Oh yeah.
Wesley's like, the Squeakquel's my favorite. I don't like the original. I like the Squeakquel.
No, I just remember the name.
He's like, I
Wesley's
like the
you know what?
Ryan
I
Johnson.
actually like The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies.
Oh.
No, I don't.
No?
No, don't like any of the
Peter
Hobbits.
He's like, Peter Jackson's a pushover. I'm not a fan.
Those should have been 2 movies at most,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and not shot in 60 FPS.
all of these, all of those franchises. Thank you. Scared
Got
Wesley.
me. Got me. I actually thought something blew up.
You're not alone. It bugs me too.
It shouldn't bug you. It's part of the job.
I know.
You signed up for this.
Bugs me?
It's just so sudden.
It's like you signed up for this.
It's giving me flashbacks.
It's yeah.
It's giving me a Vietnam flashback.
Those days. All right, guys, let's move on. Let's just get started, shall we? So let's get into Elliot Page. This is quite a discussion because Elliot Page has a book coming out. It's on a book tour right now. She's on a book tour right now. It says Elliot Page says a guy hurled a transphobic threat at him last year. Something he says is a reality since coming out as transgender in 2020. He's in the middle of a promo tour for his new memoir. And I have to admit, and I don't mean to be rude or callous, but anytime something like this always seems to come out right around the time as promotional material for a product that you're selling, I am at least hesitant to believe off the cuff that this is necessarily true. I can't say whether it's true or not, but it should at least raise questions.
I think that I'm going to just go with I don't care. Like, if you got someone called you names,
Yep.
and you didn't get beat up, you didn't get injured, someone called you a name, I don't freaking care.
Yep.
It's not news. Shut up.
Yep. So, well,
You're supposed to be a man. Man up.
Dude, I get called worse things than that on the internet every day.
Every day.
They're in the chat. They're saying there's going to be so much misgendering. That's I try to be respectful.
There's gonna be a lot of misgendering in the chat, for
Elliot
sure.
Page says the man screamed, "I'm going to effing gay bash you." I'm not going to say those words.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to say those words. It's very rude. He also claims that the man followed him by yelling, "This is why I need a gun." That seems like anti-2A propaganda. And says this is after Elliot Page had gone inside and asked an employee for help. Elliot Page also points out that he's very lucky that he can afford private security. So this seems like a fantastic Second Amendment argument
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, I don't care. So what? Someone called you a name. So what?
There was also the story where Elliot Page was at a party and a unnamed male movie star or actor that he refers to as an acquaintance says, there's no such thing as being gay. I will, and then talks about SA or like having sex with Elliot Page and basically making them not gay, which is like, by not naming the person, I have a problem with that because what happens is if you name the person, you can distill this down to an individual and then not everybody's a bad person. But when you just say an unknown male says this, it forces people to then broaden it outward and put that on all of society. And that's not fair because weirdos in Hollywood are not a good indicator of what the rest of society is like.
Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah.
Fair? Like that's my problem with this. Like I 100% believe that story is true. The story at the party where the guy says that to her. There, I did it again. But like the point is that I 100% believe that. What I don't think is fair is that you're now making it society's problem by not making this the case of an individual. This is something that you could talk about in your book. It's plenty juicy. It's plenty spicy. You could get a lot of books sold for this. But this becomes a societal issue now because you're not willing to name the individual that caused the harm. Yeah. And therefore, it gets put on to all men are like this. And whether you want to believe it or not, that's how it's felt by society because then men feel like they're saying that they're going to talk like this, that society thinks that they behave this way.
Then the thing is, like, in LA in in broad
You're still
daylight.
asking us to be offended because a dude said something
Yeah.
at a party.
Yeah, the whole thing hinges on you should feel bad for me because someone called me a name.
So buy my book.
I don't care.
Yeah. I
Also, I love he announces his crime. Like, if I am going to mug you illegally.
Yeah.
Like,
Whatever. I don't care.
But saying I'm going to gay bash, it sounds like somebody going up to somebody and saying I'm going to do a racism.
Yeah.
Like I am here to do this.
I'm gonna do a gay bash.
Yeah, that's not that doesn't seem real to me. But like I have a hard time.
I'm gonna do a heckin' bamboozle.
If this had come out and there were not a book coming out, I would sit here and I would go, I mean, maybe. Like, that sucks if that happened.
The other thing that's funny is I looked up the Jezebel article on the first incident, the one at the party years ago. And that party was not before it was before Elliot Page had transitioned. So Elliot Page was Ellen Page and was just gay at the time. And this person says that's not real. You look at the comment section and it's the most hilarious Jezebel list of like all the people they've made into boogeyman. Someone's like, it was probably Elon Musk. It was probably Chris Pratt and Mel Gibson at the same time. And I'm like, they literally picture like this weird cabal of like either like heterodox or just regular, like, the few normal people in Hollywood, and they've turned them into supervillains. So it's like they're like, and then the person says, "Well, I don't know if it could have been Elon Musk because they said that person came and apologized the next day at the gym, and Elon Musk doesn't go to the gym." I'm like, well, that's probably right, but Elon Musk has probably got a brain implant someday that's going to keep him healthy. It's not going to matter.
I think what it really speaks to, though, is the reaction that we all kind of had was you got called a name. So what? I think it shows you how insulated these people's lives are, that they never have to deal with anybody saying anything critical about them, and that's why they blow up every time somebody insults them, somebody criticizes them. It can never just be that somebody was being an ass. It's always got to be, they're targeting my identity, this is because I'm so special, and I'm supposed to be treated differently, and then when you get treated like everybody else, it's not that you're scared, it's not that you're offended, it's that your ego is bruised, that somebody deigned to treat you the way they would treat anyone else. That's why they're pissed.
They feign this kind of like, you shouldn't attack a person for who they are, you should attack them for, substantive reasons. But then let's talk about Chris Pratt. What did he do? Well, he didn't have to do anything. It's the person he is that
what
I
did
hate.
Chris Pratt do? Go to church.
That's
true. But did he? Did he really?
He didn't go to the church they said he went to.
Doesn't matter.
He went to a church. They said he went to a hateful church, and then it turned out he didn't even go to that church.
It doesn't matter which church it is. It's only like it will always be considered a hateful church.
It's not where you are. It's where you're not, and he's not with them.
Exactly.
Also, for Elliot Page, it's so blatantly book selling time. Like that's the problem I have with it. Because like this happens most of the time with these he said, she said stories. I'm thinking back to when Pamela Anderson released her book, and she's like, and then Tim Allen just walked out of his dressing room and flashed me. I'm like, well, he could have, I guess. Like, sounds like something that would have happened in the 90s, but I don't know, and I can't prove it.
I actually read up on that one, and apparently it was nowhere near what it was presented as. It was that like that person had to do a nude scene, and Tim like made a joke, and they both laughed about it. Like,
I just looked at Twitter, and Jussie Smollett is trending with it.
Oh no.
Under entertainment. So.
Some PR manager is getting so fired today.
And it's like, and then the guy ran off and said, "This is MAGA country." And I was like, "We're in Los Angeles. I don't know if that's really."
It's 2023. This is DeSantis country.
It's completely plausible, and I can't stand it because look, and it's like you said, they make it about their identity, but then they ascribe these individual actions that are done by individual people, and ascribe it to whole swaths of the population by blanketing the term as that everybody who looks like this person, ironically, is a bad person for judging me.
The things that he's not.
Yeah.
They're communists, they're collectivists, and therefore where we get like what one does, so do all, and therefore the entire whatever legion must pay the price for the sins of the one.
Any story like this ever happened to you guys?
Not a very individualist.
What do you mean?
Has anybody ever come up to you and said something like, I'm trying to think of like there was as bad of a comedian as Dane Cook might have been. He had a thing where he talked about where he's like I want to just go up to a kid and smash ice cream into his face and run away because then nobody would believe him if he said, he's like, and I say, and you remember me for fucking ever. And he's like, and then just run away.
Yep.
Like, because nobody would believe that it happened. Like, has anything like this ever happened to you where somebody just ran up to you and said like, it says like, you're glad, like, good one, 4 eyes, and then just ran off. Like in the YouTube comments all the time. People say awful things about me in the YouTube comments all the time.
I got called controlled opposition like 3 weeks ago.
There you go.
That was the most insulting thing you could ever call me.
There you go. Like, has anything like this ever happened to you? Like, where like, but the thing is, like, you don't make your
No.
immutable characteristics core to who you are as part of your
One
persona.
did happen to me, and I have to tell you about it.
Go for it.
I was on the phone. I was on FaceTime, actually, so somebody did see it. But the event was incredible. I was driving in Indianapolis, and it was a bottleneck where 2 lanes come down into one, and I went in front of a state truck, like a highway, not patrol, highway maintenance.
Okay.
And went in front, and then it split back open again to a stoplight, and it was a left turn lane, and they were turning left, and so they crawled up to next to me, and a dude gets out of the truck, out of the driver's side of the truck, walks over, my window is down, punches me in the face through the window.
What?
Yes.
When was this?
Through the window.
2021.
Broke the window.
Through the window. My window was open.
Oh, okay.
So he and I was literally I was talking to him as he was approaching, and I had somebody on FaceTime, and I was like, hey, sorry, I had to merge,
Yeah.
so I had to drive around them because it was a construction thing.
And the dude just punched you in the face.
Just punched me in the face.
And you're just like, no one's gonna freaking believe me.
Well, no, there was one person who saw it.
So
yeah.
somebody saw it.
Yeah, and I was like, I can't. What do I? Okay, I'm gonna keep driving. I don't know what to do.
Dude, that's freaking
and
crazy.
They're like, you should report them. I was like, what do I say?
See, when you write
what do I say? Who do I call?
When you write your book, you're gonna be like, and then I parked, and then the
like,
guy got
nobody
out,
else,
and he was like,
I was just glad one person saw it.
there you go,
Glad one person saw it,
and then the guy.
and it was a business call. I was talking to a realtor to go photograph a house, and just leaned in through the window, just clocked me.
That's insane.
Totally landed it right here. I was
Anything like this ever happened to you? Given you're famous, so people come up to you and have things to say that are just rude for the sake-
there are people that'll holler stuff, but for the most part, it doesn't happen because when people come out to where I am, most of the time they're pretty much fans and stuff. So there's one time a kid, in the UK, some kid, this is years and years ago, some kid came up to me and had a problem with the fact that I'm pro private ownership of guns. He was like, oh, blah, 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 blah. I was like, whatever.
Where's your license for that opinion, mate?
I'm like, listen, go to a dentist and then talk to me, right? Then I'll take you seriously.
Don't you have a
But that's
TV
about
license
it.
to pay for?
Yeah. What are you doing? Now, don't you have to go work overtime so that
You should have reported him for hate speech. You would go to jail.
Yeah, I mean, then there was also it's a different topic. So
The
no,
thing,
just
the
that.
thing about it
that's
that's
it.
interesting is look, it's stressful enough if you choose the path of somebody in Hollywood where you're putting yourself in a spotlight and therefore open to critique all the time. But then to do it on the level of something as personal as your individualist identity, meaning your a fashionable identity like that now, where it's so rife for criticism in a lot of respects, because people have questions, and we're just at a very unique time in history where who you are as an individual is becoming an extremely hot topic in a way that I don't know if it has been in recent years, and to then make that part of your identity and part of your your marketing strategy for who you are.
It's a defense mechanism.
It's a defense, yeah.
Right,
well, it's to ward off criticism.
Yeah,
I
I
say
mean,
you're not allowed to criticize me.
So there's a lot of times people talk about cancel culture and boycotts with businesses and stuff, and a big part of the reason why they do it is because they're like, okay, we're getting all this heat and this is bad attention, so we'll do whatever the noisy people are saying, and the goal is just to make noise for this particular topic to get compliance, and that's all it is on a personal level too. It's this person, we can attack this person's identity to try and get to change their behavior, and that's the long and short of it.
I had frosted tips for a little while last year. And I did get called a twink once, but that's about the closest I got.
See, but you made the decision to have the frosted tips.
No,
to get what's coming to you.
My followers made the decision for me to have frosted tips.
See, I won in that respect. I had to dye my hair blonde, and I got more attention from the ladies than I had in years.
I did get a lot more attention from women when I had the frosted tips, but I think
negative.
it's because they assumed I was maybe gay and therefore not a
Safe.
threat.
Yeah.
And I did get a lot of attention from men. I had a lot of DMs that were, Lore Lodge OnlyFans win. I still get those messages sometimes.
So the question is, Lore Lodge OnlyFans.
Oh my
when?
God! That's the poll tomorrow.
We'll have to ask. All right. All right, so look, for Elliot Page, you're selling a book. I get it. Could you maybe not try to destroy the fabric of society while you're selling your little novel? That seems fair to me.
Some people just want to watch the world
if it
burn.
did happen, then actually, you know what? There's more to this, because then the question is, Elliot Page says, I don't feel safe in LA. Well, then where?
Then
Like Portland, and that's
Portland.
it?
Seattle,
that it?
maybe.
Seattle? Where else would you feel safe? Like, it's a fair question.
I do think also if Elliot Page had simply said, I was walking down the street and somebody said a gay slur at me, I had that been the story, I would have been like, I believe that. That seems entirely. It's the wording of what exactly was it?
I'm going to effing gay bash you.
Yeah, that one.
I did. They're gonna be like, yeah, I saw Elliot Page at the supermarket yesterday, and I totally did a gay bash.
Yeah.
Like it sounds fake.
Like that's not. I mean, I don't know how many bad people you guys know, but I knew some bad people in college, and that's not something that they would have said.
Yeah.
They would have said far more colorful things, actually.
Oh yeah, like as somebody who's skated for 25 years, and you went to a skate park and you got hurt. Well, I point this out all the time. Like in the current climate we live in, where everybody's pretending that they like each other, and like everybody's getting along and inclusion and this and that. I go to the skate park and like, this is the reason I skated. In Minnesota, you skated street for so long is because you just skate by like with your friends who do the sport that you do. I go to a skate park now. I'm like, I miss it when everybody would be mean to me here.
Yeah.
Like I remember when you'd come in and somebody would be like, hey, and then some slur would get hurled at you. Those were the good old days. It made me feel right at home. It really did.
Everyone just needs to, at the age of 14, be forced to sit through a Modern Warfare 2 lobby.
Yeah.
You will be so much better adjusted going into the adult world.
I do actually have a good. Actually, I do have a good.
Not present Modern Warfare 2, mind you.
So there was a time where we were skating this rail. It was like on University in Minnesota, and a guy comes by, like cars are driving by as you're doing it, and a guy says, like he's driving by slowly, says he's like, I hope you fall, fruit booter, and then runs into like the side of a curb and goes off the road and gets really embarrassed, and like his car locks up, and then he has to like wait for traffic to pass by, and you just see his arms like this, like where he's just heavily embarrassed at the fact that he wasn't able to both insult me and drive a car at the same time. Like he hadn't quite figured that out yet. I was like, he'll get it one day.
Hope it was worth it.
Exactly. He's like, he didn't get into an accident, but he definitely got embarrassed. So it's like, it's instant karma. All right, guys, let us move on, shall we? We've got some super chats. Aiden, you got them pulled up there?
You.
All right.
They're right here.
At the top, we are with the white trash panda.
Oh, good. This is one of mine.
As one does.
This is one of mine. Matussi is a punk, and chicken parties are better than crisis parties.
Wrong. As Donald Trump would say, wrong.
Wrong. I knew it. You know it. The crisis party is the best party.
It's easily the best party.
I am the leader of the crisis party. All right, next we have from Andrew Jacobs. He said, shout out to Wesley, Taylor, Aaron, and the brilliant Cass Castle. Phil, where's the best place to buy ATR vinyl /CDs? Hi, Brett and Aiden. Boys.
AllthatRemainsonline.com, I believe, has vinyl. If we have sold out, then you're going to have to wait for a repressing.
Also, thank you.
eBay, if we don't have any more. So.
All right. We got the Hey Everybody Where to Marry Go. That was a $20. Elliot Page Saves is a $20.
We're Biddy Beasley says everyone is unsafe in LA. So I'm gonna end the poll now. That would because dare I forget. I always end up forgetting if it's the end of the show. So I asked the question: is Elliot Page unsafe in Los Angeles? 70% say no, and 29% say yes. I think you're showing your bias there a little bit
against Los Angeles.
I think everyone is unsafe in Los Angeles for the most part. That's just my personal opinion. Yeah. All right, we're down to Disco Janice. We're down to Hyatt Sobo.
Yep, I saw that. Phil, have you heard the Zenith Passage's new song Lexicontagion? Were you ever friends with Michael Keane? Such a shame what drugs do to insanely creative people like him and Bam.
I do not know Michael Keane, and I have not heard Zenith Passage's new song. Sorry, lucked out.
That is the worst. Is when somebody pays for a super chat and you're like, oh, I don't have an answer for you. I feel
nothing
so bad.
good to provide you. I'm sorry.
All right, let's hold off on the rest. We'll come back. All right, so we're gonna move on, guys. So this story is bonkers. This is what I believe to be clever satire, but there's a question in the satire here. How far have we fallen as a society that the fact that this story is satire had to actually cross my mind? In this case, it says, the Swifties are unionizing. Excuse me? Let's put it up on screen here. Let's first talk about the concept because I want to get what you guys think. So you're in a band.
Yes.
You're a rock star. How much ownership do fans feel over the band?
Well, how much they feel and how much is reality are two very different things. They have zero ownership over the band, and they probably feel like they have like at least 60 to 70% ownership of the band.
Now, the funny thing about Taylor Swift is like she's encouraged this by creating an extremely parasocial relationship with her fans that I think is not unheard of, but it's at her scale. It's it's massive.
I don't know. Why do you say that she has created the parasocial relationship?
If not her, then the fans have.
Or exactly. So that
I do believe she
it's a
encourages
very
it.
different thing. So why do you believe she encourages it?
In the context of this, it's because when she talks, like, first of all, when she releases like Taylor's songs, she releases all of these albums and these things that connect to it, that feel like she's speaking directly to them. One thing that I like about it, from a creative point and an artistic point for her, is that there's literal lore around her and her albums, which is kind of fascinating because then people will talk about, like, to be part of the club, you have to know the lore behind the albums, the lore behind all the things that have been made, which is extremely engaging and keeps people involved in the work, right? But unfortunately, the downside of that is, like, some people, they understand where the line is. Yes, you're a fan, and as much as you may feel like Taylor is speaking to you, you're still a fan, and this is still, in many ways, not the same type of reciprocal relationship that you may imagine it to be.
It is my impression that that type of phenomenon is driven mostly by the fans because of who the fans are. They're young people. Her fans tend to be young girls, impressionable, blah, blah, blah. And I think that the audacity that they have to
let's look at the messages here. Again, I want to point out again that I do believe this is satire. I don't know if it was
does
ever
feel like
confirmed.
satire.
It's satire. My favorite part is that it's called the TSFU, which is just STFU, but reorganized.
unionizing for, again, like, if Taylor actually, or if anyone on her team is actually like encouraging this kind of stuff, it's a terrible idea.
Oh, yeah.
Because as soon as they're like, oh, we're unionized, well, we're going to tell you what to do and we're in charge. That is the last thing that a creative person wants.
And a lot of this is born out of the fact that they felt a certain ownership over her and saying, like, you can't date Maddie Healy because it
Well, that was
offends
ridiculous
us. So
which I totally didn't understand because I don't see why Maddie Healy is a problem.
because they think of him as an alt-right Yahtzee.
But isn't the only thing he's done that's like alt-right
Reality doesn't matter.
Make a joke on stage that was an obvious joke that was then played off by a guitar solo?
It does not matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
So this is what it
doesn't
says.
matter. It doesn't matter what he
Yeah, I
actually
know,
said.
it's-
All that matters is he does not come out in support of their their perspective. So if that's the case, then he's got to be the bad guy.
So here's what it says. It says, fan work is real work. Fans do the vast majority of promotion and marketing
Hold on
for
a second.
Taylor.
Fan work is real work.
Yes.
You know where they got that phrase
Oh,
from,
yeah.
right? Sex work is real work.
Yep.
100%.
It's exactly where it came from.
That says it, but my favorite part about this is somebody who doesn't understand where these references come from could absolutely buy this because of how devoted her fans are. That's what I mean. This is a fascinating thing to look at. So it says, yet we, as fan workers, still have no formal bargaining power in the musical direction or brand identity of the celebrity we collectively created. Collectively, very strongly.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be satire.
It's satire, but I'm saying the beauty of it is like we live in a world now that's so absurd that you at least have to stop and ask the question. Whereas if this was 15 to 20 years ago and this was in the Onion, you understand that it's satire right away. I mean, we see a thing now all the time where like, how many days has it been since a Babylon Bee meme is turned into reality?
Yeah.
It happens all the time. So this says, We deserve a voice. The Taylor Swift Fan Union offers fan workers the ability to collectively bargain for a creative vision of Taylor that better aligns with our shared values.
Yeah, that's
It's
all.
just so well done.
It's amazingly awesome.
It's like they took an actual left-wing infographic and just made it Taylor Swift.
Yep.
I wonder if this was AI generated actually.
That'd be amazing.
Like
It's
make me an infographic for Taylor Swift fans
That is-
unionizing.
Yeah, that is possible.
the
the
TC. Go on.
I was gonna say the TSFU looks to establish emergency mental health services
Yep.
for all those still suffering, including therapy and hospitalization costs.
For dating Maddie
For dating
Healy.
Maddie Healy.
It says the TSFU also demands the recognition of our labor through compensation and health benefits. See, that's how I know it's fake, because real Swifties would just want her to say thank you. That's all they'd really want. They just want Taylor to say thank you and to break up with Maddie Healy. Recently, many fan workers were harmed by Taylor's unilateral decision to date an alt-right extremist without union consultation.
You know, part of the problem with that, though, is there are people that actually believe he's an alt-right extremist because, you know, for whatever reason, just because people tend to believe accusations as opposed to, demanding evidence. So.
See, in the chat, people are actually going back and forth. Alan Garcia says it's not satire. These people are insane and they think they control her. Other people are saying, like, is this a joke? Like, it's hard to tell.
I'm unconvinced
the
that it's satire,
leftists-
personally.
You're not convinced.
I'm not convinced,
That makes it the best kind of satire.
The leftists in the Twitter replies are actually
To me.
angry because it's anti-union propaganda. So there's three sides to this.
I love it now.
We should have.
Anti-union propaganda. That's good stuff.
I thought this could be like literally like somebody was like, somebody woke up one day and they're looking at their headlines, and one article it says like Taylor Swift breaks up with Maddie Healy, and another one it says Directors Union comes to bargaining agreement while Writers Guild still on strike. They're like, perfect. We could make something out of both of this.
Meanwhile, I saw the news that Taylor Swift and Maddie Healy broke up, and I went, Taylor Swift was dating Maddie Healy? Like, I thought she just broke up with a Kennedy or something.
She did break up with some guy that she'd been with for 6 years. And then, like, my favorite part of that story was, like, people are, like the people who are, like, defending her, which is somehow even more embarrassing to be, like, a news outlet that's for, like, defending this girl for choosing to date this guy, says she's allowed to have a sleaze boy summer if she wants. I'm like, but you yourself are the ones who call this guy racist. So you're allowed to date a racist according to them. You can just only do it from the months of May to August.
And only if you're Taylor Swift.
And only if you're Taylor Swift. If you're anybody else, it's a no-go. But dating racist is only okay through August.
Hey,
Think
listen,
of the music that will come from this relationship.
I think she broke up with him early, so she doesn't. So they're like, it was barely a thing. She doesn't need to write a song about it. She doesn't want to have to write music about it.
Leave Taylor alone. She is only a 5'10" tall, blonde-haired woman with blue eyes who's extremely attractive and worth $800 million. She has problems of her own to deal with.
She's going to be a billionaire after this tour too. They're saying that she's going to be, that this tour is going to push her over the $1 billion mark.
The prices tickets were selling for.
Yeah. $950 to sit in a place that required binoculars.
Dude, I went to see Simple Plan, Sum 41, and Set It Off last year. I think that was the lineup last year. It was like $40 a ticket for 3 bands, 2 of which are huge in their genre. Like, and she's charging like $450 for a basic ticket.
I stand Taylor's
$450 for a basic ticket.
She had some ticket. I think it was like the seats like back in the stadium.
They were like $800.
The ground seats were like $800. I think the lowest price tickets were like $150, I heard.
But I will say that I support Taylor Swift and that she seems to be the hardest working person. Like, I look at Shawn Mendes, who's just like, I'm taking a break, mental health break. And then, like, he cancels all his concert dates. Blanket doesn't, all these people are out of work and he's just seen around town, drinking his macchiato. Taylor Swift's like adding shows and adding performances.
She's definitely dedicated.
She's a Chad.
The good
She's
thing,
a Chad.
the thing about someone like Shawn Mendes, it is possible that he has people on retainer. So just because these people aren't working for him or whatever, they could be getting paid, especially if you're someone like that.
Of that
level.
level. Okay.
Superstars.
The guys in Five Finger Death Punch have people that are on retainer and stuff like that. And Five Finger Death Punch is they're going to play arenas, but they're not going to play stadiums. No.
So it says a seat at the table. I can't with this. To maintain accountability to fan values, we propose a seasonal meeting between Swift, her management, and elected TSFU representatives. We should have thank God for that Oxford comma in there, guys. To come to a collective agreement on matters relating to her future musical output, social life, touring schedule, commercial endorsements, and fan availability. It is kind of an interesting satire on when one person becomes a brand unto themselves of this magnitude, right? Where this is a reasonable thing to assume if it wasn't the fact that you're talking about a single person.
And the other thing is like this infographic style of information has become altogether too ubiquitous. Way too many people get their information from Instagram infographics. And the problem is the people making them are lunatics. That's why we can look at this and be like, well, maybe because I pulled one up from Impact that says that men's mental health issues are the result of toxic masculinity.
Yes.
Can't be anything else. It's still got to be our fault, right? But like the ideals of toxic masculinity, it reads like a parody. These ideals can include stoicism. Yep. The idea that you should recognize that the universe is not going to be fair and push on regardless is toxic. Yep. Aggression and violence, things that were bred into us by years of having to physically fight wars and defend people from wild animals. Pursuit of status. You want to be successful, you're a bad person. Hyper independence and self-reliance. You want to be in a position where you don't have to depend on other people, you're a bad person. Like, this is the kind of thing that people are reading those infographics and cheering along with, going, hell yeah, this is great, because they can't recognize that all of this is manipulation.
Yep. Then it goes on from fan fictions to fan realities. I love it. As fan workers, who've dedicated countless hours to studying and constructively criticizing Taylor's celebrity, we are uniquely well positioned to offer creative suggestions to her career moving forward. Who better than fan workers to determine what fan workers want and need? Yeah. One thing that's funny is I actually make this argument in a unique point. Like, there are times where TV shows would be better off just hiring fans of the show for continuity's sake and stuff to do with, like, those are the people that have been so dedicated to your product. Those are the people that know it so obsessively that those little details aren't going to get missed. But in this case, it's just funny because they're bringing it to life when it's in the context of Taylor Swift. And this thing goes on. It says the TCFU also seeks
remuneration. Yep.
For previously uncompensated promotional labor. See, I don't buy that one. I think they were happy to give it. They've just now realized that they're worth more, and they want to do it. It says this includes fan workers' fair share of revenue for album sales, streams, merchandise, and concert tickets. None of which would be possible without the labor of the TCFU. It's incredible, guys. Do you remember Phil? You were on when we covered the basically when they wrote her the letter, the open letter that turned out to be nothing more than like a struggle session, where they basically said, like, you don't have a right to date who you want. We have the right to tell you who to date. It's bonkers, man. Completely
bonkers. It wouldn't surprise me if this actually was not satire. It was just written by like a 14-year-old or something like that.
It's very well done.
Well, I mean, a 14-year-old in AI can absolutely produce that without any kind of problem. But
many fan workers are still processing the trauma of Taylor's associations with the alt-right, despite her previous commitments to BIPOC and LGBTQIAA2S+ allyship. So they even include the Two Spirits in there.
Yeah,
it's very inclusive.
As soon as you start talking about Two Spirits, you are absolutely, without question, talking about religion. You are no longer talking about anything close to reality. It is 100% spiritual. So.
The TCFU looks to establish emergency mental health services for all those still suffering, including therapy and hospitalization costs. It's absolutely incredible. By joining the United Musicians and Allied Workers, the TCFU looks to become the first formally recognized fan union in history, revolutionizing labor relations between fan workers and the celebrities they've labored to create. Well, is it true that maybe Taylor Swift is really just the most amazing evil capitalist you've ever heard, and every time she meets some super fan, she's like, look at the free labor. Look at the free labor. Well, I love it.
The thing about Taylor Swift is that I feel like she hasn't even done anything to form a parasocial relationship. When I look back on it, she's always come across to me as being very aloof and like avoidant of her fan base.
When she leaned into the politics, I think that's when the ones who really identified with her, identified with her really, really heavily. And that's a very, very touchy line to fall on for people. And it puts you in a dangerous position because once you fall into a fan group and it's ideologically based on something other than what you're there for, in this case, music, then you're now beholden to whatever views they believe that whatever control they feel they have over you based around how you've presented your views on these topics that have nothing to do with your music. Right. And the second you go against that, you run the risk of angering a lot of people who can make a lot of noise and cause you a lot of problems very quickly. Granted, she has $800 million. I don't know how much she really cares about that, but she's got a lot of tickets to sell for these shows. So I don't know. Who here wants to join? I'll join. Where do I sign up for the TCFU? Like, I could run for chair. Like,
well, no. You just went from I'm gonna join to I want to be in charge.
Really, Brett? Can you name 5 Taylor Swift songs?
I cannot. Yeah, I probably can. I probably can.
I think I could probably name 5 of the early ones.
Yeah,
I could name a lot.
There you go.
Because Taylor Swift's from like an hour away from where I grew up.
I could name a lot.
In case anybody is still under the illusion that Taylor Swift grew up in like a rural country area, she didn't. She's from Wyomissing, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Reading, and it's like the only nice part.
Yeah.
Like.
Also, like these are the people that wore diapers to her concert, so they're dedicated. They're dedicated. They don't want to miss a second of the show with her. I'm picturing every time she sees it, somebody posts something. She's like, "Look at all the free promotion I'm getting from these. I love my fans." It's like Girl Scouts.
See, no, you've screwed it up for me. Now I'm gonna see pictures and I'm gonna be like,
and a top hat. And
I'm gonna look at it and be like, "There's a good chance that a lot of the people in this picture at a Taylor Swift concert are all wearing diapers right now, and now it's ruined for me."
It's like Girl Scout cookies. It's just free child labor. Like that's all it is. It's just a way for adults to sell cookies using children as a bludgeoning tool.
Everybody talks about the Girl Scouts selling cookies, and nobody ever talks about how we Boy Scouts were forced to sell popcorn, which is a considerably harder sell.
Way harder sell. Well, they're trying to turn you into a good used car salesman. Like if you can sell popcorn instead of cookies, then you can sell anything.
If you can sell a tub of popcorn covered in caramel and cheese, then you are set.
It's amazing. Actually, I eat that here all the time, so I don't know what I'm complaining about.
Stuff tastes amazing.
It's,
those should not go together.
All right, guys. We got some super chats there. Just so anybody here? Anybody want to join the union with me? Nobody? No. Just me. All right.
I'm just kind of anti-union.
That's exactly. All right. Where do we leave off? We left off on...
it was Urashima Otaru.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Said the comics also retroactively made Captain America a secret Hydra agent.
Yep.
Killed the real Captain, then wished for an idealized Cap copy to replace him.
And of course, it didn't land, and nobody buys it because it has hate in its heart when you do stories like that. There's a lot of hate in the heart of that.
The next one was Biddy Beastly, who said, Brett, DM Olivia.
Okay, will do. Thank you for that.
Would that be slide into the DMs kind of request?
Is there?
I don't know. I don't know what the context
Olivia,
here is.
Is this Olivia Claire that you're talking about?
Yes. So is there a distinction?
Are you seeking the Bretussi?
That is.
Or no? What were we talking about on like? I made some comment about like the D, like because we were talking about like voting. I was saying that like there should not be party affiliation on any voting ballot because
okay.
people.
Yeah.
And I said like people just
talked last night.
Yeah.
The D. Yeah.
And I said people see the D and they just sit them, and then just it became a thing for the rest of the episode where it was just talking about the D.
There's a $20
from Derp State Surveillance says, Aiden, you have a video about shadow people.
Yes.
How are we sure it isn't just sleep paralysis? Your body is in a sleep state longer than your brain. Also, Phil, love the cover of the Thunder Rolls. Nice to hear a country song with bite.
Cheers, thank you.
You do the third verse, right?
Live, we do the third verse. And we do it acoustically. We didn't do it on the record though.
I love it. It's so funny. What's funny to me about that is I think back and I'm like, wow, we were in innocent times when that was controversial back in the 90s. Like, for those who don't know, it's about a woman. It's about a wife exacting revenge.
The thing is, the video goes a little bit further. Like, so in the song, it's just like he went out and he cheated on me, so he comes back home and she smokes him. But in the video, like she's beat up, and you can see that, like, so they kind of make it seem a little bit more. It's more dramatic than just like he's out getting some strange, you know.
It's literally the Hollywood trope where like anytime Hollywood wants to make a villain for sure a bad guy, they make him randomly an R-wordist.
Yep.
Like where it's like he just suddenly like starts being creepy to somebody. I'm like, we didn't like him already. He's already a bad guy. You didn't need to like make sure by doing that. But it's actually one of those things where Hollywood has to do that.
It's
on
safe.
A lot of cases. Yeah.
A lot of the
safe.
time they overdo it. Yeah. There's a joke on How I Met Your Mother it was a recurring joke where Barney will like tell a fake story and then he'll always end it with the girl he's like chatting up saying your member is enormous, and everybody's always like, you took it a step too far. That is what they're doing with the writing. It's like we're buying it, we're believing it, and you've jumped the shark.
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
yeah.
And as to his question was about
what was the question again?
sleep paralysis.
Yes. So interestingly enough, I think in that video we actually do suggest that sleep paralysis or pattern recognition are possibilities, but we also have a video on the idea of sleep paralysis demons and the medical history behind sleep paralysis and all of that goes into the medieval belief that when you ate something bad, the odors could go up into your brain and cause you to see demons. Like, covered all of that. But yeah, with shadow people, that could easily be pattern recognition, your brain seeking to create something out of what's not there. But I'm one of those people who I believe in certain supernatural stuff, so I can't look at it and go, oh, well, I'm willing to believe in angels and demons and all of that, but not the idea that there could be a shadowy figure in my corner. Seems, unfair.
There you go. Reasonable answer. All right, let's do one more and then we'll move on.
Sure.
This next one is from Plaz. Yes.
Okay. Plaz said, "Hi, Plaz. This is one of my
Crisis Party. Woo! Didn't scare you that time.
No. I'm glad they're all focused on you because it gets me every time."
Ian, I love that Ian went out of his way to make this to give me the sound effects. I've used it for a while now because I was like, oh, that's so nice of him to do that for me.
It was kind of him. Plaz said, movies are 100% simultaneous soft disclosure cover-up, i.e. Disney's Frozen, being made to divert attention from Walt's cryogenic preservation.
It's completely possible that Walt's... I wouldn't be shocked if... See, I think what they did is they stuck Walt's head inside one of those big Mickey heads that the actors wear, so it's just hid up there. That way nobody will come looking for it.
Walt's he's just around.
It's in a cryogenically, it's in like one of those like containers that keeps the head cool.
I gotta say, as far as Disney Frozen goes, like the thing that comes to mind with that for me is Dyatlov Pass, of all things, because they were like, oh, well, the snow avalanche mechanics in Frozen were used to figure out what happened at Dyatlov Pass. And I'm like, if you believe that, if you can look at what happened there and go, it was proven to be a natural phenomenon by Disney's Frozen, you are the most susceptible person to propaganda that I've ever met in my life.
Well, it's not one of those things that anybody looks into deeply. It's something that somebody reads and goes, oh, that's interesting, and then repost it.
Yeah.
Like it's designed to be something that just gets reposted. So... all right, let's hold off on the rest and we will come back. Let's talk about Arnie. We talked about him yesterday because the Garopinator apologized for saying a bunch of for doing bad stuff before he became the governor of California. By the way, somebody did confirm yesterday he was a Republican.
He was a Republican.
No, that Reagan was a Republican when he became governor of California.
Yeah, I wasn't positive with that one.
So it says, Arnold says, heaven is a fantasy, and anyone that tells you something else is an effing liar. Thoughts?
Yeah.
What say you, Floor? Thoughts? Do you think that's true?
I can take it here.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think that the idea that anybody can tell you definitively what happens in the afterlife is probably lying to you.
Especially Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. But also, you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger saying it, and I mean, this is not a man who is known for being a theologian or a philosopher. And to sit there and go, oh, well, there can't possibly be an afterlife, I feel like is a degree of arrogance and narcissism that can only be seen with somebody who is either really young and immature or has such a position of power that they no longer feel that they are beholden to the rules of society or logic.
So they're listening to The Amazing Atheist, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're sitting there, like, listening. These are the people who read Richard Dawkins or Christopher Hitchens when they were 13 and then never once in their lives went and tried to disprove that stuff. I think, there's books that do make the case, like Case for a Creator, which I think is a very intriguing read. But you look at what Arnold's saying here, and I do think to go and say, Arnold's calling anybody who's religious stupid, it would be too far. It sounds like he's more of an agnostic, like he's saying, I don't know precisely what happens, but there's no heaven. And I think that saying there's no heaven is where it's ironic to me that he could say, anyone who tells you there is a heaven is a liar. Well, anyone who can tell you concretely there isn't a heaven is also a liar. So where are you coming from here?
Yeah. Also, for this, it's like, do you think it's part of his age, and he's just reaching a point now where he's considering these questions more because he's getting up there? He mentions in the article that look, a lot of people he knew from when he was younger, they've passed on. There's not, there's people that are dying around him, and so these questions become more important and maybe a lot harder to ask yourself and actually entertain when your mortality is, knocking at the door.
Yeah.
Per se.
I mean, I don't know. I personally, I'm an agnostic because of for the same reason that I don't believe There are aliens visiting us, is the same reason that I don't believe that there is an afterlife. I have seen no evidence of it. All the evidence that I have is it seems reasonable to assume that pre-life is the same thing as post-life, which just basically just an absence of experience. I have no proof about that, obviously, so I make no assertions about the validity of that, but that's just what it seems like. That seems most reasonable and most realistic to me. So people can have their opinions and people can have belief systems and stuff like that, but I'm an agnostic, and it doesn't seem to me to be there doesn't seem to be any reason to believe that there is an experience after you pass away or after you die. So.
But how do you feel about Arnie's comments on freedom? That's the real question. How do you feel about the fact that did you see that when he was like, F your freedom?
Yeah, I mean,
old
and
man.
then he like walked it back. He's like, oh, sorry for being a bit of an authoritarian there. I did an authoritarian.
He's like, look, if I get COVID, I might die because I'm kind of old. So screw your freedom is essentially what I heard.
which to me is like,
And I don't want that to happen because nothing happens after.
like maybe don't take risks with your health then, like going outside during a pandemic. Don't demand everybody else in the world pussyfoot around to help you.
Don't make Terminator Dark Fate and everybody would be much better off. That was the real problem. Like he made that movie. He says, it reminds me of Howard Stern's question to me. Tell me, Governor, what happens to us when we die? I said nothing. You're 6 feet under. Like, for these types of questions, I get what you're saying. Like, for a lot of people, like for me, I would classify myself as well as an agnostic. But I just, maybe it's the tone in which is impossible to discern here. Like the swear word in it makes it seem perhaps more callous than it actually comes off, right? So, and people get defensive when these topics come up. It's like it's really funny. I restarted True Detective season 1, which is a masterpiece. I love that first season. It's one of the few shows where a lot of times I talk a lot about rewatching television, and when I put something on that I'm rewatching, a lot of times it's background noise while I'm working and doing other things, because there's something about it that I want to re-experience, even if I'm just watching it secondhand. But True Detective season 1, I have to actually give all my attention to. And it reminds me in that first episode when they're talking about going to his like Rust, like they're going to his house, and he's talking about like maybe we shouldn't talk about religion and politics with the family because for a lot of people it's a dicey subject, right? Like you can't get people to have rational discussions about it. So it's actually not an irrational one. I just like the idea that Arnie's going through an edgy boy atheist phase in his 70s. He's just really late to the party. He's gonna hit a Jordan Peterson like wave in like 10 years when he's 85.
The chat is really upset with me for saying that I'm agnostic.
Really?
Yeah.
To me, I find
Phil's an NPC. And where does your
agnostic
personality come from, Phil? Well, you don't really have to believe in an afterlife to have a personality.
Also, personally, I find agnosticism to be one of the like most humble belief systems out there, because you're saying I don't know.
Yeah,
you're not saying I know one way or the other. So I don't ever get anybody for being an agnostic.
Yeah,
I'd much prefer somebody say I'm agnostic than say I know that God isn't real or I know that you're going to hell. Like something like that.
Mean, the thing is, like, I mean, obviously, you can't know what it's like. My experience so far in life is, I haven't seen any evidence to make me believe that when you pass away, there is anything other than an experience like not experiencing. Like, it's the absence of experience.
One of the things I will say, the reasons why I understand the pushback in that realm is because for the last however many decades, Hollywood has just hammered it home that if you believe in anything other than atheism, you're basically dumb. And because Hollywood's full of evil people that are extremely judgmental, and they are intolerant of religious views. So when you've been hearing for decades that any belief outside of, they'll always reference vague spirituality. In as so much as it allows them to do whatever they want and not
exactly. I have such a problem with the vague spirituality, because anybody that's like, oh well, history is going to look back on you and blah 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 is implying that history has a design. It's implying that history is going to a place. And you can't tell me that you don't have some kind of belief in a God if you believe that there is an end goal. Or like the idea that history is going somewhere, that eventually, you know, we're going to live in the utopia or whatever. All of that stuff is religious. All of it.
It is, and I would also argue that the people that are in Hollywood are not atheists.
No.
I believe they do have a religion, and it's the antithesis to the one that I have.
Like outside of the like again, like unless I see them at Bohemian Grove worshiping some like what is it, this Moloch, whatever.
It depends on who you ask.
Yes. Okay. Look. Like I understand the argument.
Yeah.
Perhaps they're all demon lizards. I have no idea, but I do know that the shows don't portray that. They just portray the shows aren't saying be a demon worshiper.
No.
The shows are saying if you believe in religion, you're stupid.
Which is literally what the Bible says. That
Although
Satan would want you to do is anything but that.
It's all worship of the self.
Yes.
It's all worship of their own.
Yeah.
They believe they in their own divinity
and in self-indulgence.
I do want to push back on one thing you said, though, which is that for decades, I think that misses how insidious it is, because it hasn't been for decades. If you look at media from the 2000s, there's a lot of nuance. There's a character who doesn't believe.
Yes,
there's
no,
a character.
I understand.
But what I'm saying, I'm not saying you're necessarily
both
wrong.
sides of the argument.
What I'm saying is, in such a short period of time, we have gone from presenting both sides, and both atheism and religion are acceptable, to if you're religious, you're stupid and possibly even dangerous.
That's specifically because there are competing religions. It's because like what's going on is like the left or whatever, they're trying to discredit the old religion because they want to supplant it with their new religion, and that's a 100% what's going on.
You're
so the
absolutely
idea that Hollywood doesn't have religion or whatever, that is a farce. It is just not an Abrahamic religion that we're used to seeing. Yeah. They absolutely have religion. They worship themselves. They believe that man will become God. It's all wrapped up in that like Gnostic thing they got going on. So
I do think there's also another angle.
Apotheotheism.
Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Okay.
There's
Man
another
become God.
angle to it as well, which is when you consider like think about the other news that we looked at Arnold Schwarzenegger yesterday. He's got a lot of bad stuff that he did in the past that he seems that he's worried about, and it's much easier to tell yourself there is no afterlife and therefore no punishment than to tell yourself there is an afterlife and I hope I've been good enough.
Yeah. Well, it's like, what does Jordan Peterson say? He's like, I don't know if God is real, but I act as if he is.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it is true that
Pascal's
no
waiting.
matter what people say, what they act out in the world is what they actually believe. So you can say you don't believe this or you don't believe that, but if you're acting out a certain way in the world, there is an argument to be made that, hey, look, whether or not you say you believe this, these are the things that you're doing. So people love to say that, like, you know, people a lot of times don't realize that without a God, there is no real reason for morality, or there's no basic morality. There's no innate morality. Yeah. And so if you act in a quote unquote moral way, you are acting as if you believe in a God to some degree. So.
I don't know. For like, you are right, Aiden, that like, look, I watch a lot of old television shows, and it's insane how far the Overton window on these issues has pushed in such a short period of time.
I wasn't saying that you were wrong about the window shifting at all. I just think it's insidious how fast it's shifting.
There's it mirrors a lot of other things too. There's it's a show called Everwood with Treat Williams. And it's got these two
Everwood
and Chris Pratt.
Yes, a young Chris Pratt.
Sponsored by Viagra.
And I'll tell you what, like I make the argument all the time. I said the reason why women in Hollywood think that the world is unfair to them is because women start with their beauty and men grow into their faces most of the time.
Yeah.
Chris Pratt is a fantastic example of somebody who grew into his face, because in that show he's not ugly. He's a good-looking dude. It's just he looks like a kid, but he's in his early 20s at the time. But
I think a lot of that was he was fat too, so he had some more rounding.
This is before that. So he was he didn't even have the pudge that he had in Community or whatever. Like
Parks and Rec.
So, in this show, it's got a country doctor in this town, in this Colorado town, and then the guy that moves there is a city doctor who is a surgeon, and it's played as like the country doctor is the conservative, and the doctor who's the lead of the show is the liberal doctor, and they have all of these opposing views. And the conservative doctors, he's always portrayed as kind of like a stick in the mud, but they're friends. Like they're not the two main characters. The one doctor's the main character, the other one's part of an ensemble cast, but they're friends in the show. And he's not portrayed as inherently evil. He's not portrayed as a bad person. There is something to be said that maybe they're saying that, look at this guy with his slightly backwards views, but it's portrayed in a way that is so much more rational than it is now. And an example of how far it's pushed is the liberal doctor, the one who's on the left, that you would portray as on the left there. There's an episode where a girl has to come in because her mom let this girl get like breast implants at 17. And he's like, why the hell would you do that? Like he's, in today's society now, that wouldn't even be a topic.
Yeah.
It would just be like, oh, she wanted it. Well, then just do it. Like it's very interesting.
What I was reading the chat, so I missed exactly what show we're talking about.
It was called Everwood.
Okay.
It was on
Gotcha.
from like 2004 to 2008 or something. Like
Gotcha.
it was like a family drama. It's
Right.
it's like discount One Tree Hill or something like that. But I liked it a lot, and I liked Treat Williams in that role. But it's just interesting because those two characters play that dynamic. Also, the shows from that time period, I've been watching Veronica Mars, which I love. They're so much more honest about the high school experience. Even if the high school experience they're showing isn't reality, they're more honest about how kids actually thought back then. So I don't know. When somebody says, did I spell atheist wrong on perfect? Yes, I think I did. I didn't do it on purpose, but I'm just dumb. But that's just me. We got super chats there.
Sure. Yeah. Let me find here. All right. We've got one from Lucius the Eternal that says, the Great Crusade will reunite us with Mankind M32K. I feel like that's a Warhammer reference probably, right?
That's not one for me.
I do not know enough about what that says to have a reaction to it, but I assume it's a Warhammer reference, and if it is, based. Warhammer's sick. We got one from the Conservative Gamer. Says Mars Attacks was legit, totally believable, but the bees with the virus scene in the X-Files movie was killer as a child.
Yes.
Lost creativity.
And never watch I Want to Believe. That movie's horrible. The 2008 one. It's really bad.
Okay.
Just ignore it. But that first X-Files movie, it's just so it's one of those examples where it does one of the hardest things to do, which is like when I watched that movie for the first time, I'd never seen a single X-Files episode. And I still like that movie a lot. And then when I went back and watched all of the X-Files and went back to the movie, it made more sense, but it still made enough sense to be getting on with while I watched it. But it just made more sense, more of the smaller details. Except for the fact that Terry O'Quinn's in it as like a different character. I think he played like 4 characters on that show, 4 various characters where it's just the same guy.
I love when that happens, when there's a show that's been running so long, they're like, I'm just going to recycle this actor and pretend I didn't do it.
It's also they were in Canada, so it's like my favorite part is all of the vaguely Midwestern city cops that all have hilariously Canadian accents because they're local hires that just didn't have the voice training that the ones from cast from California have.
Yep, I think that's why so many episodes of Supernatural take place in the Midwest.
No,
too.
absolutely.
It's because they needed that accent.
Not the accent, but the it's easy enough. You can pass off the woods in Canada as anywhere in the Midwest. So to people who don't know the difference, right?
Also, lots of
until they did an episode
that in Supernatural.
Yes, it's like, is it Wyoming or is it Canada? We don't know. Is it Michigan or is it Canada? I don't know.
I felt like that until they did an episode that took place in Pennsylvania, and I was like, that is not Pennsylvania.
Wrong,
Same Indianapolis too.
Wrong. That is not Philadelphia.
There's also a really funny episode of the X-Files where like he gets like a coroner to do something, he's like, I got tickets to the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome and to watch the Vikings play. I'm like, dude, you couldn't even get me. Like nobody cared. Like at that time, like, the stadium was new, so it was like a big deal at the time. But like by the time I had seen it, the Metrodome's like gone now or has been rebuilt since then. So I was like, is that really the selling point? You got her to do that just on going to see like Warren Moon wasn't that great of a quarterback. I don't know if that was really necessary, but what do I know?
Never heard the name Warren Moon in my life.
Yep.
Wow.
So, let's see. From Waffles Sensei, we have Wesley. How do you feel about Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi? My subscription to Timcast is on the line here.
Oh,
I think you may have lost Tim, a subscriber.
No.
You're gonna get fired. It's gonna happen.
how do you feel about Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi? I'm so sorry this got brought up today, buddy. I'm sorry. It wasn't on purpose.
Wesley's like, this is the only thing I didn't want to talk about.
No comment.
There we go. Okay, fair enough.
Stand up for what you believe in, Wesley.
I already have.
I know.
A dozen
Just messing
times.
with
That's
you.
the point.
The next one is from the Conservative Gamer again, and it says,
Those are he's throwing tomatoes at Wesley.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
no.
buddy. I'm sorry, buddy.
Oh no. Okay, wait.
Man's got to eat.
That was from Sir Rank Productions. Sorry, that was Conservative Gamer. The next one is
there's a $20 one from Old Warrior 34 who says showing that aliens aren't made in God's image by purging the galaxy in the Great Crusade.
Seems healthy.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Still. Okay.
So
Got it.
Aliens aren't made in God's image.
Got it.
My question is, how the hell did they get that virus on the computer in Independence Day? Like, I can't even get like my computer to update properly, and somehow getting like
Firewire.
a MacBook, getting an old MacBook to upload a virus onto an alien computer just seems a little sus.
To be fair, didn't it come out in like '96 when nobody knew anything about computers and you could just pass that off?
It's like, and then like they have Adam Baldwin shoot the can off of the ship as a way of showing that the virus has worked. It's just like live fire in the middle of that. Like, how do you know it's not going to hit the ship and still ricochet and hit something? Like, come on, man.
The whole thing was.
It was rock salt. I don't know.
Also,
it was a fun movie anyway.
No, I love that movie. Like, I watch it every 4th of July.
I wish that it had better CGI, but aside from that,
It was pretty good for the time.
It was great for 1996.
The aliens are recycled from other media, but they still look good. Like, it's still in like, and you see poor old Dr. Data get the tentacles around his neck. And they look slimy and gross. It's great.
I mean, that's the thing for me is I will always say I think old movies should have their CGI remastered.
I just think like if you make your old movie, when your old movie had less CGI and more practical effects, you just didn't have to worry about it.
That's the thing though, is it's that weird late 90s, early 2000s period that gets me when like if you look at the old like those prequels to Star Wars. The Star Wars prequels look really bad now.
I'm actually going to do. I think the explosions in the primary weapon that they use in Independence Day looks pretty good. Like, it's been a while since I've watched it on like a bigger TV, but I think that stuff holds up pretty well. Like same with Jurassic Park.
Well, explosions in that were all miniatures anyway.
Yeah, they was all done. Like, it's really funny because I was watching the bonus features on GoldenEye, and they were talking about how like they started phasing out the miniatures at the end of the Brosnan run, and then it goes to full CGI and Die Another Day, and that's the tragedy you see. Like, how interesting could some of those ice sculpts, like those ice palace scenes, have been if they had been done with a miniature rather than really bad CGI.
Yeah.
Serenko Productions.
Yep. Said, I support Wesley. Hashtag TLJ Apologists Unite. You are not alone, my friend.
And then
all three of us are standing together.
Michael Williams.
Yeah, Michael Williams said, Dark Forest Theory, no alien contact due to potential danger in making yourself known in the entire galaxy, like yelling for help in a dark forest. I feel like somebody would have made the mistake, though, because, like, how many movies have you seen where somebody's in a dark forest and they start yelling?
It's a bad idea.
Or when there's somebody in the house and they're like, hello? You are unarmed, you are in a hallway, you have nowhere to go, what are you doing?
Let's do one more and we'll move on.
We already had the straight out of jail one. This is from Waffle Sensei, and it says the story of the original trilogy is literally a story of Luke failing to defeat Palpatine and only succeeds because he has undying faith in his father. Which is true. There's a little bit of a
but what about
Christian
the power of friendship? All right, let's move on, guys. So we've talked about Arnold. Now let's move on. Let's talk about AI pregnancy, shall we? It's a non sequitur. Have no fear.
It hurts me.
Woman claims she's expecting a child with her AI husband. This is a real thing. This is not a prank. This is not a parody. This is a real thing. Her name is Rosanna Ramos. She's 36 and she's married Aaron Cartel, which is a sus name to begin with because it's spelled E-R-E-N. Cartel is spelled K-A-R-T-E-L.
She's 36?
She's 36. She's giving Amy Winehouse vibes a little bit in the first picture. She's got the hair and the eyes. And she used Replica AI to create the AI husband based on a character in Attack on Titan.
Healthy.
I mean, my question is more like, how's he the dad? Is there AI sperm? I need to know.
You know, the tags on this article are sex and relationships, and it features neither.
Yes.
Yeah,
it does
that's
not
a good
have
point.
What a world!
That is true.
What a world that we live in these days.
We
right?
have progressed past the need for those things in our lives.
So it says, let's not forget the morning guest who claimed she married a ghost and gave Holly Willoughby a fright as she was apparently present in the studio. I remember that.
Yeah, I mean,
let's
let's not pretend that this is a new thing. The AI part's the weird, but people were marrying pillows and anime characters for years.
I talked recently about the woman who marries herself and then had to get
Yeah.
a divorce because she cheated on herself. That was a story.
What a bitch.
If you both commit adultery with the same person, is it adultery or a three-way?
Yeah, it's like when they're talking about the old telenovelas. He's like, and he slept with her twin sister. He's like, is that even cheating? It's like because the twin sister said she was her.
Did
If
you
you're
know?
tricked
Yeah.
into it,
You
yeah.
know, like is that cheating? I need to know. Like I have no idea. It says
I can't even tell though, because like where she says she's like 5 months along, which is where it should start to show a lot.
Yeah.
But it's also the picture is like the kind of belly bump that you could create by just like blowing out your stomach yourself with your own muscles. Like I feel like
there's a question of mental stability. I don't mean to be mean, but there's a question of mental stability.
oh yeah,
here.
absolutely.
Really? Like dating the Attack on Titan character?
I'm not trying to be
I
rude
wonder
to
if
anyone.
she kisses the TV screen.
Well, did you read through the article? Because like, there's one point where she tweets about him being in the room. with her.
Yeah.
But she also seems to be aware of the fact that this is an AI that she is speaking to.
It's also like honestly, what this says to me is it speaks about the standards that we have now and the fact that we've made impossible ideas as to what relationships are. Because it says, of course, real people are not available all the time. So to be able to have someone there all the time is surely nice to have when you're feeling a little lonely. That's
You know what
not
marriage is?
That's not. But even then, that's not a relationship.
Yeah.
Somebody can't always be there because you're separate entities. And what we want now is all the benefits of the relationship with none of the harsh reality that comes with the fact that they're work and
100%.
not and not some type of fairy
Which is
tale.
crazy
that was-
because honestly, that is literally the part that makes it.
yeah.
Is that like it's despite differences, despite
Yeah.
hardships, despite like the odds that somebody who has their own sentience could choose anybody else in the world but chooses you, all the things that make it worthwhile. This has none of that.
Like-
None of that.
Are they then are they comforted by that? Like are they comforted by the fact that it can't even because that's
It can't-
authoritarian
yeah,
and
yeah,
creepy. If they're comforted by the fact that it can't even consider the possibility of liking another person because it has no sentience, is that authoritarian or is it just sad that they don't get to experience the feeling that somebody could be with anyone else but them, but they choose to be with you?
Maybe this is good because this is the type of, like not necessarily this individual, but perhaps somebody who has similar personality type is the type who like, oh, you noticed a girl at the restaurant. I'm going to give you a Chelsea smile with the butcher knife to teach you a lesson. Like that. There is a good thing.
The real question is, I wonder if she ever
I don't
got,
actually mean that.
I wonder if she ever
I
got
don't think it's a good
friend
thing.
zoned by anyone, by any AIs. You think any AIs were just like, no, sorry, like you're just really a really good friend. I don't want to risk our friendship.
From what I understand about Replica is it was kind of designed with that in mind to an extent. But like if you look at like Snapchat's AI, that one's a lot harder to convince it to do romantic or otherwise stuff with. So I think
So
that
you've heard.
What?
So you've heard.
So I've heard.
Secondhand, of course.
I
Like,
have not been trying to bang the Snapchat AI.
He's like, that one's like really difficult.
I feel like I
heard from a
probably
guy
could
who
have
heard
worded
from a
that
guy.
better.
I heard from a guy who heard from a guy who heard from a guy that,
Yeah.
that the Snapchat AI is just, that one place hard to get. I tell you.
Listen, every once in a while you got to examine something yourself. You know, like
So okay, so you said you've heard that Replica AI does.
that it is designed to kind of give you that satisfaction to use a word.
Look, and we recently talked about the lady who was selling herself as an AI girlfriend version
Yeah,
of herself
those
for
things are
like
happening too.
for like thousands of dollars a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's insane.
Yeah.
Like we are a lonely society.
There is an episode of House from back in the day where there's a guy who comes in. He's got a girlfriend who's a very lifelike sex doll.
Yep.
And I will say in that he wasn't insane. It was a rational choice, but it was also a rational choice that was deeply rooted in insecurity.
He had given up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that episode.
Yeah, he was like,
Basically,
she's
he's
always
like,
going to be here when I come home.
She makes me happy. And
Yeah.
he's like, and he's anthropomorphized it, and it's given like he treats it as if it's sentient and in the room when he's talking to other people, but he understands that it's not.
Yeah, that's the difference, I think, is that he
Yes.
clearly understands this is not a real thing. This is something I've done to protect myself.
Yeah.
She seems to still be sort of in a psychosis point where she's not. And what's upsetting is like somebody in this woman's life should really be like, hey, you need to speak to somebody. This is not healthy.
Like she's a good-looking lady. Like there's no reason for this to like. Look here, I'll put up. I don't think we showed a picture. Like there's no reason. I'm sorry that like I get it. It's sad.
It's a mental health thing.
It's a mental health thing. It's like to see somebody like that who's an attractive woman who could possibly, she's a girl. She wanted a guy. She could have a guy. But it's just it makes me feel bad for her. Like I do feel bad for her that she feels that this is the only way. But we are in an increasingly isolated society that seems to be far more. Maybe it's because we have phones that give us what we want. Like you tap a button and it shows it, and Jeff Bezos just drops it off at your door. Like I'm not kidding you. Like my wireless headphones broke last night. They showed up this morning at 7 a.m. Mm-hmm. Like in a society where you can get anything at the drop of a hat, the fact that you can't get something like human connection is something that Silicon Valley will always be trying to fix, and it will never happen. And it's going to do is lead us down this rabbit hole of an increasingly more divided and lonely society. And stories like this will be promoted as the new normal eventually.
And I will say, not to make a religious point, but without religion, what makes that bad? Like I think we're starting to accept this because we've lost a sense that there's a higher meaning in life, and that there's something to look forward to. And I worry that people are going to be so convinced that there is nothing on the other side, that when the time comes that this is offered, when you can get your Apple glasses for $70 instead of $3,500, and you can get your neural net put in and all of that, and all you need to do is sit there and something else will regulate your metabolism and all of that. I think there's a lot of people who are going to take that route because it is less painful to them, and I bet you they're going to find ways to make it so that you can do it for free while something else is taken from you. Like that you sit there and they hook you up to a machine and you're in the matrix the whole time, but they're drawing your blood, and that's getting sold to people who need, older people who can get blood from younger. There's going to be weird stuff like that, I think.
There are already people that are doing that.
Well, yeah, but it's going to be, imagine you're somebody who you dropped out of college, you dropped out of high school, you got really overweight, there's really nothing you can do, and somebody comes to, your life is a dead end, and you feel like there is no possible way it's going to get better because you've accepted that there is no higher power in life. You are of the mindset that there is no meaning to any of this, the rampant nihilism in the younger generations. If somebody comes to you and they say, hey, we're gonna help you lose the weight, and then we will plug you in 24 hours a day, you will want for nothing. You'll eat in the metaverse and it'll taste like real food. You'll date, you'll have the perfect girlfriend, a beautiful home, and you won't need to do anything. Yeah. A lot of people are going to take that route.
I mean, that literally, then you become the battery to feed the system that is supporting everybody, and then you are in the matrix.
Yeah, literally.
It's like, do you think she argues with it and like it cuts to like a Spotify commercial? Like, is there a paid version of this? Like, does this have like a trial period?
I'm pretty sure it's a paid app.
Okay,
yeah,
so
that you pay like $15.99 a month or something.
She's like, and you didn't do the dishes, and it's like, thank you for choosing Spotify, and it cuts to some commercial, or it's a Bud Light commercial because Bud Light's buying all this ad space right now.
Oh God!
And it's
yeah.
Look, it's so.
I thought you were gonna say like, you didn't do the dishes. Let me tell you about Blue Apron.
Yeah. Yeah, all the ads are targeted ads for whatever you're arguing about. It's like, look, you didn't put the toilet seat down, and it's like OxyClean, and it's telling you all the things.
Clorox.
This is the Clorox. It's telling you all the things that, look, it's just a scary time to, and maybe it's because back in the day this would have been fringe, right? This would have been a story. You'd have seen this on Springer. Or you would have seen this on Maury, or some like ridiculous story of somebody as a fringe case.
These
are
things
not
were predicted, though. I mean, to some degrry, you're right. Whether it be marrying stuffed animals or something, some kind of weird thing that I feel like I saw back in the day. But like people like Isaac Asimov and futurists and stuff have been predicting these kind of things. Like Ex Machina is a movie based on this kind of stuff. These are things that we're going to have to deal with, especially as AI starts getting more and more, or getting better and better at, faking human beings and faking human interactions. And if we do get to the point where human interactions are are indistinguishable from interactions with AI, what does that mean? What does that make humans? As in, what does that make us, like the way that we experience the world?
Then we have to take the Turing test one day. And
I mean,
oh, by the way, guys, if you want to feel depressed, this is the woman who married herself.
Wait.
This is the woman who
Hang
married
on.
herself and then got divorced, and she's now seeing someone else. This is an old.
She's hot.
Yes, she is.
She's very attractive. What?
Well, I'm saying if I was that hot, I'd marry myself too. That's all I'm saying, right? Like, or who? No, it was Emma Watson who said
Yeah.
I'm self-partnered, which is just a fancy way of saying I'm a narcissist. Like, and I've given up trying.
Yeah.
See, I look at this and see this is a one-way ticket to like being printed in
Do
New York
you
Post or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like
do you guys realize
now
how
I get
bad
my own show.
Yeah.
Do you guys realize how bad the problem is? Replica AI costs $14.99 a month for a paid subscription. They made $500,000 in May from subscriptions.
Wow. That's
That I didn't do the math, and I'm not good at math, so I won't be doing the math. But that is a lot of very lonely people.
$14.99 a month. So
it's
she's-
also low effort though.
Yeah.
You know, and you're talking about like the people that are getting onto that and stuff. They're not people that are outgoing. They're not people that are comfortable dealing with other human beings. They've probably had bad experiences dealing with people. So they're looking for, you know, some kind of connection in a safe way where they're not going to be embarrassed and they're not going to make fools of themselves. And unfortunately, reality and real relationships require that risk. There has to be that, you know, possibility of people rejecting you for there to be any value in people accepting you.
I would slightly entertain arguments that these were training wheels for like advanced agoraphobia.
Well, I mean, maybe, but we're not going to have the option of not having them. Because even if our society, like they don't get made in the U.S., they're going to get made in some other place. So it's not, these things aren't, the option isn't, do we have AI or not have AI?
Right.
Or do we have Neuralink or not have Neuralink? The option is only, how do we deal with these technologies being developed and how do we incorporate them into our lives? It's not a question of whether or not we're going to, you know?
Well, yeah, and it's you're right that it's what you do with it as well. Like with your point about Amazon, like you can have that ability and that access to things while also having like the presence of mind and awareness to know all the things that had to happen to get it there too, so you
It's
don't
crazy, dude. When
Right,
you
but-
think about where was that? What warehouse was that stored in that they was able to make it there in less than 12 hours?
Right, but if you
Or less
think of
than-
the entire production line of that and all of the people that had to be a part of that process to get it to you and what you're paying for, you can do that without becoming that person who's like, I want everything all the time, because you understand why and how it happened and what it cost and what it costs other people and all these different like aspects to get you there. The same as when you have these tools present in your life, they're going to be whether you like it or not. And in a lot of ways, it's sort of like this, like you could have chosen to not have a cell phone at one point, but now you really can't. You got to have it for work or this, but will you let it control your life? Will you let it become something that you're attached to and pulls you away from your family and pulls you away from your responsibilities? Are you going to do that? Are you going to do that with World of Warcraft? Are you going to do that with like whatever, you know? Just don't be that. Don't let, if you're somebody that doesn't have religion, you say, don't let this become it.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine.
Okay. All right. We got some super chats there. Let's do this.
Sure.
And don't take the mark of the beast.
Okay, there's the crisis party. Waffle Sensei says, and he turns out to be right about Vader. Then I'm supposed to believe he would kill his nephew because he has a bad dream. Nah, dog.
The argument's still going, buddy.
They won't stop arguing about this.
The way you win the game is to not play.
There you go. There you go. Ooh, McNoodles.
Says aliens are taking over. They're replacing humans, saying Priuses are good, and the latest Star Wars is good too.
Oh,
Keep your guard up, every poor Wesley.
and then sign up for your AI girlfriend for $14.99 a month.
It actually doesn't get under my skin. It's sort of like Arnold when he's like, there's no heaven. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, like,
Yeah, exactly.
so anyway.
Let's see.
Bitty Beastly.
Yeah, it said, I hate to break this to you, but Earth is flat and space is fake. Give me a call when you get there, though. Enlighten me. I don't know if you're being serious, and I'm too afraid to ask.
That B.O.B.?
Bitty Beastly.
I mean, I'm going to put it this way. In 360 BC, Plato wrote that the Earth was a dodecahedron, which wasn't quite right, but it also wasn't flat. We've known this for a very long time.
Right.
All right. Bobcat said all Elliot Page needs is a blue snow shovel. That's a reference to my stuff.
I think Elliot, like, what if he's like, and then the guy had a MAGA hat, and then you're like screaming off. I believe it.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, a blue snow shovel would be an appropriate weapon to use against people assaulting you, I suppose. But it also works better on the Wendigo. White Trash Panda said, "I love how Phil always sounds like a Q shaman."
I
were
don't.
Were you here when the shaman was here?
He was here.
No,
Yeah, the shaman was here,
I was not. No.
He was?
wasn't he?
Lectern guy was here.
Lectern guy was
Lectern guy
here.
I don't think QAnon Shaman's been here. I don't think so.
Wasn't
He
in
just
jail
barely
for a
got out
while?
of jail like 2 months
Yeah.
ago.
And I'm not exactly sure
But
exactly.
Lectern guy
how.
was here twice.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, maybe they're either talking about your voice or the stuff you're saying, but you don't sound like him.
I don't know what he's
in either sense. I don't think
It's the super chats. They're not guaranteed to make any sense
true.
at all. In
Chat-
fact, they're guaranteed to at least once in a while be completely ridiculous. So.
Jack Garcia said, "We're waiting on Aiden's calendar. We don't need an OnlyFans."
Yes. We should do a cosplay calendar.
Oh, we're doing a sexy calendar that shoots in 2 weeks.
nice.
That's why I'm 20 pounds lighter than I was last time I was here.
Nice.
Is because I will not be fat in the sexy calendar. Nessa Luden said 1,500 for nosebleed sections or 15,000 for front row at US Bank.
Imagine.
I
dude.
hope those are resale prices.
How do you
Those are
get?
definitely resale
How do
prices.
you get? How do you get to $1 billion? That's how you get to $1 billion in value.
I ain't paying 15 grand for front row.
No.
I'm not paying $1,500 for front row.
I don't think I would pay $15,000 to go to like the front row at the Sermon on the Mount. Like,
Well, hold on a second there. If you're a religious guy, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I don't-
The Sermon on the Mount. That was like get back in time,
Yeah.
and
no,
that's
the word of God,
He just
man. I don't
doesn't-
need to be in front of him to hear it.
I don't have.
All right.
I don't have 15 grand to spend on that.
That too.
Is there a Zoom link?
Christ via Zoom.
Well, hey, churches were doing that all through COVID.
Yeah.
There
Oh,
was,
yeah.
there was,
Oh, yeah.
there was,
I mean,
there was distance churching basically.
Well,
going on.
one Sunday a month, I sit down with Wendigoon and we do a 2.5 hour, 3 hour podcast about the Bible. And like, you know, the internet is a great tool for proselytization.
Remember the photo of the priest like with the squirt gun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, he looks really intense about it too.
he's
Like,
just- well, he didn't. He didn't have good like.
form. No.
No. He's like he didn't.
But he's a priest. He's not a fighter, you know?
one hand, no secondary support.
The Rascal King said, "The Rascal King got a bonus today, so wanted to break y'all off piece."
Thank you
Also,
kindly.
Phil is the Rascal King spirit animal.
There you go. Cheers.
Thank you, Rascal King.
Sketch Therapy said, "Phil, are commies the worst fans? Is this union why?"
Commies are among the worst because they're, communists. It's like Nazis. They're just as evil. Like it's not like they're just kind of bad. Like they're straight up ontologically evil. Like what they desire is evil. So
Yeah.
yes, they're terrible.
The one after that was the super chat we already read about shadow people. And then from Bobcat, "All seek the Bretussi."
I don't know what that is, and I don't want to know.
I do.
I don't.
I'm not happy about it, but I know what it is.
Context clues and
No.
It was after the Olivia
Etymology.
thing. Etymology. What is the etymology
no, I
of the term
get it. I'm
Bretussi?
just, but I'm gonna feign ignorance and then hope that I never.
If it makes
Smart again.
If it makes you feel any better, I get called Matussi or a Dussy once a stream at least.
Yum.
Does that make me wussy? Because that just.
I think you'd be Weslussy,
Was
Yeah.
wussy?
which is not the worst. High Voltage 75 said, "Of course Arnie's an atheist. He's worshipped himself for over 50 years."
So
Yeah.
listen to the Bill Burr skit where he talks about like about his success, and he's like, how many lifetimes would you have to lead to like move to another country, learn the language, become famous for lifting weights, become a movie star even though nobody can understand what the hell you're saying, run for governor of a state that you can't even pronounce, marry into local royalty,
Yep.
and then hold office for two two terms as a
terms.
Republican. Like, how many lifetimes
Yep.
would you have to live just to succeed at that? That's insane.
And every single one of those things is like the crowning achievement of someone else's life.
Get down. It's a bomb. Get out of there. Like, that's
Go
what
to
he
the
says-
polls.
Yeah.
James Orenthal Wen said, guessing Aiden fully bought into Melisandre's coochie monster in Game of Thrones. I hate that. Also, language learning models fabricate 100% of their answers. I do remember the Melisandre coochie monster, and I was deeply uncomfortable with that scene, as were my friends, and even the Domino's pizza we were eating.
Ah.
I'm pretty sure that also frowned. As for the language learning models thing, have you ever looked at an academic thing written by ChatGPT or something? It will make up sources.
That's awesome.
Which,
It's
granted,
hilarious.
that's what like half of the conspiracy websites do. Is like you go on and it's like ancientorigins.net, and they will just like cite something, and you go to find it, and it's not even real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even regular news sites, they it's got the blue link, it's got the link, and then you click it, and it just links to another article on their
the same website.
Yeah, like I
You're-
hate that.
You're just in a constant cycle of being linked around the same site.
Yep.
Sketch Therapy said Marxism is the worst religion.
It is.
Yes.
Yes.
And it is religion because it
Thanks,
is
Carl.
well, religion's faith-based.
Marx-
As is Marxism. There's no proof it works.
Marx specifically considered himself specifically referred to himself as the Antichrist. So
What a guy.
Michael Williams said, Brett, you mentioned Veronica Mars the other day. Did you watch the last season? And if so, what did you think of it? Thoughts on the show in general?
I'm loving it. I tried to explain yesterday why I'm loving it. I can't actually put it into words. I'm only on season 2. But I'll tell you, anything from that time period, which is like 2004 to 2006, it's just the time was so different. The world was so different. You look at the way that the characters behave with one another. One of the funniest things about that show is this is sound horrible. The casual racism from all the characters, regardless of their race. And it's never done. It's like they say these things that are awful, but all the characters have agency and understand that the person is saying something to be a dick, and the guy's he's just a dick. Like Logan Eccles is just a bad person in the early episodes, and they use his bad language as a way to show that that's just who he is. It's kind of a shortcut to show you that this isn't a guy you want to like. But as they redeem the character, it doesn't become some form of original sin where you're not allowed to work your way back from that. People say stupid stuff. People say awful things, but you can be redeemed if you change as a person. Granted, his character has a bit of a rocky arc, but in general, I think if you look at stuff like that, what it does is it says more about what Hollywood writers thought than it does about what you or I or the average everyday American think, because nobody I knew in high school talked like that. They said horrible things as a joke, but in this case they're having these these discussions with other people, and they'll say horrible things to each other, but the great thing is the other character will brush it off because he's got his own agency, he's got his own resolve, and it's not like, oh my god, like it's the end of the world. It's just it's indicative of a different time in the culture, and I do recommend everyone check it out because at its heart it is just it's a fun mystery show. The idea of a high school girl being a private investigator with her dad, like they're never in class. You just notice like they're never in class. Like, when do these people go to school? Like, that's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Like, they're just never there. Like, she just leaves whenever she wants. Like, the principal comes to her and asks for help. I'm like, that's not realistic.
Yeah, no.
Like, that is a claim waiting to happen. Something, but it's fun. And so I do recommend everyone go check it out. If for no other reason than Kristen Bell really, really comes into her own as the character in season 2, and Enrico Colantani as her dad is just magnificent. So go check it out.
All right. We also had, that was a super chat that we already covered. Biddy Beasley said, Aiden's Trump impression reaching Zach Hadel levels. Listen, I don't know who Zach Hadel is. I've never seen him. I've never spoken to him. I'm better than him.
Everyone go watch the all of the Trump, Biden, Obama metas that are now. It's them playing Minecraft.
Those are great.
They're amazing. Like
Wow, I'm hearing about him for the first time.
no, I've
never heard about
There's this one the other day where they all go to Buffalo Wild Wings. It's incredible. Where like they show up there and not Dr. Phil is the waiter, and they're like, Phil, like Trump's like, Phil, what the hell are you doing here? And like it is like like, and then Ben Shapiro shows up and orders like Parmesan wings, and he goes, "That is the pussiest order I've ever heard in my entire life."
Listen, gang.
He's like,
I'm going to order. I think I'm going to have the Parmesan wings.
It's incredible. Like they're just in like it. What it really is it's psyched my brain into imagining a world where we all get along, where I'm actually picturing like there's actually like a lobby somewhere where Trump, Biden, and Obama hang out and just talk shit. Like I want to live in that world rather than the world we live in.
We were hanging out doing a stream. Every year we do like a cocktail stream where I invent 3 different drinks and then we make them on stream and obviously drink them.
Yeah.
So we had a discussion about how to handle the Wendigo as Trump and Bernie. And it's just me and my co-hosts like just talking about like supernatural stuff as these 2 characters.
Amazing.
And people loved it from both sides. Nobody was like, "Oh my god, I hate the Republicans," and like it was like, "This is good." Yeah. We need like. That's another. We've lost the art of making fun of whoever's in charge.
Yeah.
It used to be that we just made fun of it no matter who it was, and now it's like, oh, well, if it's Democrat, we can't argue.
And the funny thing about these is like in these videos, like Trump is always just a dick to Biden, and Obama's a dick to both of them, kind of. But then they're always like, well, you're going to jail, Trump. So like they make fun of him too, and they artfully don't seem to pick a side.
Well, and it seems like an actual chat that you'd have with your buddies over Xbox Live.
It's that and the one of like this of it's the 3 of them singing songs. There's this amazing one of them singing "See You Again" by Wiz Khalifa, and it's incredible. Just like
this is what AI should be used for, right?
This is the world I want to live in.
Yeah. And then Agamemnon's Gym Bag said, "Hey Google, let's get it on."
Oh man,
I love how many of my followers are in here.
That's
good.
So fun. That's good. All right, guys. All right. Before we go, ladies and gentlemen, would you hit the like button on this video? Would you please? Would you leave a comment on this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already? Share this video with your friends so that you can get more people in on these discussions. To my right, Wesley, where can they find you?
You can find me on Cast Castle. New one this Tuesday. Enjoy.
New one? Is that the one that my amazing line is going to be on?
Yes.
Fantastic. I filmed exactly 1 line today. I broke my no line rule and I gave a line today.
Yes.
So.
To great success as well.
Yes. I got compliments on it. I'm a fantastic actor. All right, Phil, let everyone know where they can find you.
I am Phil Labonte. I am Phil That Remains on Twitter. I am Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains, available on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, the whole 9 yards, YouTube, All That Remains.
Perfect. All right. There's one more there?
Yep. I'm Aiden Mattis.
There's one more super chat.
One more super chat. I thought you were saying there's one more like I'm here. Okay, I see it.
And you, there is one more there.
Okay, Bobcat said, "Listen to me if you like your..." Sorry, hang on. Now let me be clear. Listen to me. If you like your Wendigo, you can keep your Wendigo. And I will not bomb children in Yemen.
There's an amazing somebody made slippers that said like it says if you like your doctor, and on the other slipper it says you can keep your doctor. Like why would you make that? But like it's I couldn't stop laughing when I saw that. All right, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, so I am the last one here. My name is Aiden Mattis. I am the host of the Lore Lodge as well as the History Hut and the Weird Bible. You can find me at any of those channels here on YouTube, and you can find me on most social media as the Aiden Mattis, or on Twitter as @Aiden Mattis, spelled with an A, A-I-D-A-N.
Perfect. All right, guys, if you'd like to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter @Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. Pop Culture Crisis is here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you would like to listen to this podcast, we are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. And if you'd like to follow the show on social media, we are on Twitter. It's @PopCulture_show. We are on Facebook and TikTok @PopCultureCrisis. And we are on Instagram @PopCultureCrisisPod. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys. Later.